Peace and grand rising to the sovereign, original, indigenous, natural, divine heirs. Today is October the 8th, 2023 on the ancient moon calendar, 2024 on the ancient sun calendar. All rise and stand and remain standing into perpetuity. This is a sovereign, living, ancient Article 3, Moorish American, Al-Moroccan, universal court action, in alignment with the ancient Noahide laws. We are the sovereign living justices, and Eggleston, Pauline Denise Ritchie. My free chosen sovereign appellation is Light Tajiri Bay. All are in capitis diminuto nolo, in red ink, in propria persona sui juris, in proprio solo, and in proprio heredes. We are capite et corpus juris legalis, which is our statement that we are the lawful and legal natural head and body for our empire. All Moors are the original indigenous, sovereign, ancient, Al-Moroccan, Moorish American descendants of the great pharaohs of Kemet and of the ancient Moabites, Canaanites, Israelites, Hamathites, Cushites, and Hittites. Our full faith and trust, our allegiance, our honor, our credit, and our energy are hereby vested in ourselves, for we are the people who are the original indigenous, natural, divine, sovereign, ancient empire state from Morocco. We're the de jure Moorish National Republic federal government. We're ancient Washington District for Columbia. We're the Universal Moorish American Consulate and the Earthwide Article 3 Moorish American Consular Court. Today, we are exercising the law by our sovereign status, which is the original indigenous, natural, divine, sovereign, ancient Article 3, living United States District for Columbia Court, and we are the sovereign fiduciaries. We are the original creditors. We're the executors, trustees, ministers, possessors, titled beneficiaries, and titled trustors for all causes for action. We are peace. We are one nation, one state, one empire, and one God. We hereby recognize ourselves and accept our sovereign ascension. We do hereby possess in our custody all land, all natural resources, and all commerce. We, the one true God nation, are not at war, and we hereby exercise all eternal, ancient, original sovereign rights at this time and at all points in time, nunc pro tunc. The principles that we share are not our opinions. Along with our sovereign, powerful demonstrations and study, these laws and processes that we share are based on principles of stare decisis, res judicata, ancient positive supreme law for the land long established in sovereign order. Erudite principles and processes for daily practical application to intelligently govern our vast estate every day is what our ancestors have given us to share with the ancient sovereign nations, tribes, clans, states, and governments at earth, and for that we are grateful. Quick question, just to kind of get things started. Has anyone, and we'll go ahead and open the table for discussion. Just one moment. So, quick question. Has anyone seen the enactments that have been published out there on YouTube and other places about persons freezing in place as they are speaking during press conference enactments? Has anyone seen that where they've been enacting, for example, I think there's two that have done it that I've seen in their enactments, which was Biden and Mitch McConnell, the subjects, the actors. Has anyone seen them freezing in place as they do their press conferences?
Islam, I see.
You're fucking delusional. Delusional.
Let me get it.
You are so.
Go ahead.
Yes, I've seen it. Islam.
Islam. Okay.
Yeah, I see. I seen it also.
Islam.
Islam, yes, as well as disappearing from the screen. There 1 minute, gone the next.
Really?
Yes.
Islam.
Okay.
Islam. Also, there was
That's
a
the
football
hologram.
player that did it too.
Who?
A basketball
Who
player.
else? Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
They might be using holograms if they disappearing.
Yes, I've seen it.
Wow. Okay. And did you wonder why that was happening? Because I was.
They're clones that ran out.
Typically speaking, they were stating that there were glitches in their software and that
Islam, I chalked it up to.
How can we be interrupting
MK
Pauline's calls when she said we were going away in September? Pauline said we were going away in September. What?
Hold on just a second.
So is it possible, Islam, that they could be a digital hologram?
So here's my thoughts on that. I asked the ancestors, Justice Akil, is that you? I think we can hear you, yeah. I hope I didn't mute the wrong line. Okay. So I asked the ancestors about it, and I think that all of that is plausible, what you stated, Justice Howard, and others about, holograms, clones, this, that, and the third. For the sake of the third dimension, for this dimension that we're at, I asked the ancestors about that. What does that mean? Because we know that everything that we see going on in that funny mirror, it has a meaning. It's a sign.
Mm-hmm.
And so as I was doing my research, the ancestors showed me this. So I was looking through Black's Law Dictionary, and the word stand came up.
The ancestors also told you that I wouldn't be here in September, bitch, but I'm here.
And so, thank you, I.C. And so, when I looked up the word stand, it says to cease from movement or progress, okay? Mm-hmm. It means to pause or remain stationary or inactive. Then it says to abide, to submit to, as to stand a trial. And then it says to remain as a thing is. And thank you for that, nobility. Just one moment. Let me put this on the screen so you can see it. Islam. Okay. Can you all see that on the screen?
Islam.
Okay, Islam. Yes, so all of this is part of that. What you're seeing, and you're seeing it with the ones that were supposed to be the head. Now, there's an echo coming from one of the lines. I believe Empress Shasha, I think there's an echo coming from your line. Yeah. Well, it was on the sound meter saying that it was, but
it's beyond. Sorry. Yes. Okay.
It says to remain as a thing is. There's a little bit of feedback coming from some of the other lines as well. To remain as a thing is, to remain in force. It says here, pleadings demurred to and held good are allowed to stand. and then it says to appear in court. To appear in court. So what the ancestors were stating is that they're doing exactly as they should in their enactments. That also lets us know that it has always been as we've stated on the public record. There are many of us that are doing court actions on the public record. Empress Shasha does beautiful court actions on the public record. Whenever she says, and any of us, whenever we say all rise and stand and remain standing, that's what you're seeing. And it's as we continue to govern actively that you'll see things that look weird and it seems like they don't have a meaning, but they do have a meaning. And what they're doing is signaling their quote unquote enacted Masonic brethren as to what's real, how far along things are going for them, not us, because we're the government. We've been the government. This whole time we've been the government. And so when we state the command on the public record, all rise and stand, that's what we mean. And as you can see, that's happening. So what we're doing is continuing to state for the record, on the record, and letting the public record show that that we're the court. We always have been. Always have been and always will be. So with that being stated, hopefully most of you had the opportunity to see House of Reawakening Minds on Friday. It was a very beautiful program as usual, and we send our highest honors to our great matriarch, Empress Nael of Gilliam L. for her presentments. They are indeed honorable and worthy of praise. And she is worthy of praise, indeed, as our Grand Sheik, Taj Tariq Bey, as well. And as are all of us, all Moors. So we send our high honor and high praise out in that manner. And so one of the things, and the whole program was affirmation of what we have all been stating. As you all know, we did do a court action regarding Justice Lamont Maurice L. while he was being detained. And, we know that all that we do and all that we state on the public record must manifest. Must manifest. And in reality, Justice Lamont Maurice L. freed himself. He just stood. He was himself the whole time. That's really how freedom is obtained from and stated by anyone, is we free ourselves. We're not just, and as you all know, we're not just saying that just from watching. We're saying that from personal experience. That a lot can be going on the outside. It's good that the government speaks when Moors are detained and things of that nature. But at the beginning and end of the day, when we're speaking on the outside and others are on the inside, when they say what we say and we say what they say, and 2 or 3 witnesses are gathered together, every word is established. So when we're all stating the same thing, which we all are, and it doesn't matter what government you're presenting, Moorish government you're presenting, and
why
things
don't
of that
you
nature.
free NTL Bay, you dumb cunt?
And so no matter what government you present, we're still all going in the same direction, which is the uplifting of all of fallen humanity. So we're grateful to see our brother out and released from. Thank you. We're grateful to see our brother out, and we're glad to see that he is well and safe. And we're demonstrating the same thing for all Moors. We want to see not one. We will to see all Moors set free. We do know this, that there is a certain amount of testing that we go through so that our sane memory remains with us. And if you've not done a POW demonstration, and I'm thinking to call it a power demonstration, POWER demonstration, because everyone who stands throughout those demonstrations comes out stronger than they went in. We noticed that in Justice Lamont's statements that he was much stronger even still, and not to say that he wasn't strong before, but he just sounded much more, that much stronger, on Friday. And so we were grateful to see that he is well. And we're stating the same thing for everyone. All Moors that are in, stand. And when we say stand, for us, stand does not mean what it meant for them. Stand for us means be the court, and put them on the trial. We've done it ourselves and freed ourselves using our courts, our Article 3 courts. We've done that several times, twice actually. And for that we're grateful. And for that we're grateful that we were able to do that. So with that being stated, we're glad to see them. He affirmed what we said just on Thursday. On Thursday, the day before the airing of that program, we stated on our in Congress how we had seen them, those that were previously doing business or pretending to be government. It's only in POW demonstrations and things of that nature that you can see that they're not unified. They're not together. They don't agree. They're arguing, fussing, and fighting amongst themselves in there. And it's the only way that you will know that you are the full authority is through that type of testing, or testing similar to that, such as evictions and things of that nature, where you just stand and be yourself. Many of us have done POW power demonstrations to show who the real power is on the land and to demonstrate who the power is on the land. And, we've given our testament publicly. We did an entire, congressional assembly regarding that. And we stand still today and stand making them all really stand and state who they really are under our sovereign authority. So with that being stated, whatever demonstration you have done or are doing, just stand, and you will demonstrate your strength. So be sure to testify publicly as led by your spirit as your demonstrations are done. As you're demonstrating and you see that the ancestors are with you at all times, we encourage you to put it on the public record. What happened? Because when you put it on the public record and you give your testament and testimony, what it does is, and I'm seeing this even with the things that we do, we've placed so much on the public record that we don't even have moments of being unsure and things of that nature, because all we do is go back and look at what we put on the public record. I can look at any of these Congresses, look at what we've put on the public record, look at what the ancestors were saying through us. And the string, it's like going to the gym.
Then you should have.
It is like going to the gym. Absolutely like going to the gym and working out and being stronger.
Where's their Land Rover?
With that being stated, this month, October, is just as last month and August and the month before that, a very powerful month in terms of the cosmological and astrological energies. So we encourage everyone to take a look at your birth chart if you've not done that. If you're led to do it by your spirit. I just want to point out here the many cosmological and astrological events that are happening this month regarding the skies and things, because what we've been seeing is something that I've never seen before until we became active with more science and the work that we're doing. We're seeing where both the morning star and Venus are in the sky at the same time, which to me is very, very, we've never seen those two together in the sky at the same time. But it's been that way now for a while, for some days, some weeks even. It began in August when we first noticed that those two were together in the sky. They're very bright stars, Venus and the morning star, the day star. And that's, for example, last night the moon was right in between both of them, which to me is mother energy, So with that being stated, October 9th is peak for the Draconid meteor shower. And that meteor shower, you can look up the word Draco, D-R-A-C-O, and the different spellings of that. Or you can look in a very old almanac and you can see what each one of these meteor showers mean. When you think of showers, think of the latter rain, R-E-I-G-N, the latter rain. That is what is happening now, and that is what the cosmos is signifying and telling everyone with all of these meteor showers this month, is that the former rain and the latter rain are one, are together. And when we say former, we mean our ancient ancestral rain is reigning with us. That's what these meteor showers are stating, that the ancient ancestral government stands and is the law. We're the court, the standing court. October 9th is peak for the Draconid meteor shower. October 10th is peak for the Southern Taurus meteor shower. The 10th is also a very close approach of the moon and Venus. So what I just stated about Venus and the morning star being in the sky together, that's not even recorded in any of these almanacs. And I've searched it. So it is a new occurrence that's happening just in the last August, September, October, last 3 months. And the moon and Venus will be very close. They will be at 5.54 degrees unified, meaning when you look up in the sky, Venus and the moon will be right there together. Now, those who know about our Islamic crescent moon, it has Venus, that star, within it. The closer that star gets to the moon each month, and it happens over time, it is telling everyone, the universe, what is going on with the Moors at Earth. And at the appointed time, you will see the crescent moon and Venus come together, and it will look exactly like it does at the top of all of our documents. October 11th is peak for the eternal. There's a symbol that's put out there before that, eternal Aurigid meteor shower. And then also Friday the 13th is coming up. And for us, that is a very beautiful time, because for us, it just means that between that Friday the 13th and August 31st, there will be an extended period of time where the spirit realm and the natural realm there will not be a separation. The separation will be very thin between them. There's a veil between the spirit realm and this dimension. That separation will be disappeared. Very thin for some. It'll still be there for some, and for others, that separation will be disappeared. What does that mean? That means that we will see things in the spirit realm and in the natural that were not necessarily viewable before. What is that? In the ancient writings, it is the same as the scales falling off of our eyes. So those who could not see some of the things that we stated 2 years ago or 3 years ago, some who did not see that liens work, some who did not see that levies work, and that our documents work, and that our nationality paperwork works, will be able to see that, including those who still think that they are black. So between Friday the 13th, which is the coming Friday, this coming Friday, and October 31st, everyone's vision at Earth is going to get clearer. It's going to be clearer between what's really happening in the spirit realm and what's happening in the natural. For that, we're excited, we're grateful, and we're looking forward to that, because for those of you who were told along the way that, you might have been made to feel, and no one can make you feel a certain way. You actually have to allow them to make you feel that way in order for it to work. So for many of us, it doesn't work. But some attempted to make you feel like you were crazy and that the things that we're stating is not real and all of that. Well, their vision will become clearer as well. And for many of you who might have yielded to that, those that made you feel that way, some of them are going to come back to you between the 13th and the 31st and on after that. They're going to come back to you and say, you know what, that stuff that you're studying and talking about, I saw something over there that it looked like what you're saying is true. Or, I guess he really did know what he was talking about. I guess she really did know what she was talking about. October 14th is the annular solar eclipse. So again, this month, and as we continue on, the cosmos is going to continue speaking. A solar eclipse, and that actually should be spelled SOULAR, will be on October the 14th. October 18th is peak for the eternal Geminid meteor shower. October 20th, Venus will be at her morning peak, and for this word, we'll just change that word to daylight peak, because daylight happens during that time that they were previously calling it morning, but because we're not in morning, it's daylight for us. Venus will be the brightest on that day, October 20th, than it's ever been. And mind you, Venus is so bright right now that it's just amazing. Venus and the morning star will be switching places in terms of brightness. Venus is very bright. The day star is even brighter than, has been in the past, even brighter than Venus, but they're going to switch on that day, and Venus will be even brighter. October 21st is peak for the Orionid meteor shower. October 24th is peak for the Leonis Minorid meteor shower. And all of these words have meaning. October 24th, close approach for the moon and Saturn. And we know Saturn is communication. Saturn is, it has to do with, includes the Leviathan principle, where communications are going to become much clearer between us and between the systems. So, for example, if you've been having problems with your internet, or you've been having problems with your phones and things of that nature, it's going to clear up. It's going to get clearer on that day, and then from then forward. That phone situation where there was a phone message sent out, that is in preparation for that, but it was also an announcement in Masonic language that states that the living heirs are awake and governing competently and are the head and body for our vast estate. October 24th is also, again, the two, Moon and Saturn, will appear 2.32 degrees unified, or close together. That's what unified means, close together. October 28th is a partial lunar eclipse. Islam. The conference is unlocked for those who are who have others out there wanting to enter Islam. And then there is October 29th, actually the 28th, on the same day as a partial lunar eclipse, there will be the full moon. So the moon will appear half red and half white, or half dark and half white on that day. It's the hunter's moon. And for us, hunter, Islam. For us, hunter, a hunter's moon, is simply, again, we're not at war. So all we'll be doing is uncovering. It's like an Easter egg hunt almost, uncovering the benefits and the entitlements and the wealth of our vast estate. And we're going to show some of that today on how to do that, how to manifest that. And then October 31st will be the day when the veil between the spirit realm and the natural is either at her thinnest, depending on where you are on the timeline, and completely disappeared. Some of us can see in the spirit realm way far in the future, and there are many of us who can do that. Most of us can. And so we'll be able to see far ahead, even more so on that day. Some of us, the moment we woke up, we could see, or the moment we awakened from our sleep, our enacted sleep, we could see way far in, so we knew what had to be done, just like the sons of Empress Issachar. They knew the time and what needed to be, what should be done. That's a biblical reference for those who want to do a little research on the sons of Issachar. Many of us have, yes, indeed. Empress Camilla, she says she has the gift of insight. We all do to different degrees, varying degrees. We can all see far ahead in varying degrees. It just depends on where you are on your timeline. Some have cultivated that gift, and so they can see farther because they've nurtured that gift by speaking out. The way you nurture your gift is like what Empress Camilla just did in the chat. You speak those gifts. Your gifts that you have, you speak about them, and then you demonstrate them. October 31st it's Happy HolyWin Day. So we're definitely in celebration mode. We're going to be celebrating HolyWin Day. It's a great day to reintroduce the government to the people as we usually do daily. And that's just demonstrating who we are. We do what we always do. So it's not much is going to change for us on that day. We'll be wearing our turbans and fezzes and celebrating our HolyWin and handing out candy with facts about the land, being ancient Morocco, or scriptures from the Holy Quran about unity and peace, or an article from the Constitution for the United States, or whatever you choose to do that day. We think that that's a great day to educate those who don't know by the erudition that we have within us. We can educate others with our erudition. So with that being stated, we say in advance, Happy HolyWin Day. We have won. And there really wasn't a fight. It was they want to call it a race, but it wasn't really a race either. It was an awakening and a restoration and a restitution. Restitution is an important word where people, black persons talk about reparations. When the scales fall off their eyes and they realize that they're not black persons, but that they're actually the original indigenous people, then they will start using the word restitution. Restitution is the word restitution and the word institution are similar. So we're restoring the institutions that are lawful and legal on the land, Islam. With that being stated, spells Islam, Empress.
Just a quick question. If you go back to what you just read.
Yes, Islam,
so
Empress.
On two of them, you stated eternal something something, and there were symbols, but there were two different symbols before each of those. Can you explain those symbols?
So yes, thank you for that. This symbol is the symbol for eternity. It looks like a number 8.
That's what I thought. Yes.
Yeah.
But
and then
unbroken. I mean, it's broken.
Yeah, it's broken. So ours is unbroken.
Okay.
Ours is an unbroken. It looks like an 8, except that the top of it is flatter, not flat, but
all the way around.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and ours is unbroken. Yeah. Indeed. Infinity. So this is infinity. This is eternity. Okay.
Oh, okay.
This is eternity, eternal. Infinity, and now there's a difference between infinity and eternity also. And the study on those words can be done. There's a slight difference. Infinity just a moment. Let me pull that up really quickly.
Now, typically, we have seen infinity as the number 8 on its side, or just a closed figure.
Yeah.
This one is not closed, so okay.
Yeah.
Or
and when we use it should be closed, and I just didn't take the time to close it, Empress.
Oh, okay, all right.
I just didn't take the time to close it. I just put the information up. But thank you for pointing that out, because it's important that those details be known and spoken and demonstrated by us.
Yes.
Indeed. Um, and
Islam.
then Islam Empress.
Islam.
Islam Empress, go ahead.
So, I don't know, I just had a deep thought about how you mentioned eternal and infinity are not the same. They're not synonymous. But it stands to reason that one leads into the next. So I would state that the eternal leads into infinity, or vice versa. Like one precedes the other.
Yes.
So that was just my my deep thought into that in the moments that she was speaking, because when I think of eternal, I think of internal, how the energy that we are, it's internal and it's eternal, and then that breeds that, well, not breeds, but it, by virtue, it goes into the infinity. That energy never dies.
Yes. Yes. And not only does it never die, but it's boundless. It has no boundaries whatsoever. So where infinity is concerned, it means there's no boundaries that will stop it. It will continue without end. That's infinity. And then eternal is where, wait, let me just affirm. So eternal is a word about time, and infinity is a word about boundaries. So when you're talking eternal, you're talking for all time. When you're talking infinity, you're talking there are no boundaries. And when you put those two together, no boundaries and no time limit. That's the difference between those two. Is one talks about space and other talks about time. So, a lot of times in sci-fi movies, they talk about space and time, the difference between space and time. And when you're talking about the difference between space and time, and they say, whatever it is knows no space and no time. That's who we are. So if we were to use symbols to present ourselves instead of names, or appellations rather, because we own names, but we have appellations, and we are infinity and eternal. We could literally use those symbols to state who we are, because we are outside of time and outside of space.
And that's where they have the infinity and beyond in Star Trek. Yes. To infinity and beyond. That they're saying our science in that regard.
Yes.
Because like you said, infinity is the time, and beyond is the infinite boundlessness. There's no bounds.
Yes. And that's why they say to boldly go where no man has gone before.
Mm-hmm.
But they know we're not man. We're eternal. We're God. We're not just man. Let me put it that way.
Yes.
In the word eternal, every time you state it, I hear ether, or I see ether.
Yes.
And the ether is without bounds. It is what we are.
Yes.
We're a container currently, but it's ether, which makes up infinity.
Indeed. So, when I think about the word eternal, and this is just what I think of is attorney. Because of the root word turn. Turn is the root word. And now I see why they called themselves that in their enactment. They called themselves an attorney because there had to be something that attempted to usurp our timelessness. So they picked that word. And really,
Where's your nationality rallies, Pauline?
Okay. Really, we picked that word.
And as you look at the symbol,
Yes.
the infinity symbol,
Yes.
if you unfold it, it's a line or it's a circle with a turn in it.
Yes. And if you put the eternal symbol front and back together, it makes the infinity symbol.
Yep.
Yeah. So with that being stated, that this is what I love about this Congress is the brilliant minds. The brilliant minds. The minds are so brilliant here. The minds are brilliant. Indeed. So we have been sort of sequestered for the past 7 years, 6 or 7 years, in terms of gaining a clear understanding and overstanding of our holy days. So now that we have clarity on our holy days, we in our spirit we know that it's time for us to celebrate our holy days. Each holiday, quote unquote, that was previously enacted and subrogated in the enactment is really something that we put in place. It was during the sleep time, those they were given other names and things of that nature, debtor names and things of that nature, but now we know what our holy days are. So every day is a day to celebrate, really. However, we get to state what those days mean. So when you're talking HolyWin, that is what we're doing. HolyWin, beautifully. Spells broadcast by Congress. I had some statements up here that I was going to present to you. However, I took the statements down in the interest of time and put this up instead. How to access the vast estate. For those who want to know in a simplified manner how to access the vast estate, this is how you do it. We have crossed over successfully and accepted our inheritance, which is all land, all natural resources, and all commerce, and the keys to the treasury. Access to our vast estate is first in a spirit of peace, next in the processes. The lawful processes come first, though, which starts with nationality.
You can't access first.
And then the legal processes come after the lawful processes. Okay? So, and then thirdly,
where's your conveyance?
Thirdly, our action, what we do in the spirit of peace and the processes. This is how you access the vast estate. You use the systems. The systems are found in number 2.
You haven't been able to access any
system, but the highest system is number 1. That's the highest system. I'll tell you that I did a demonstration at the post office, at our post office this past week. And as I was demonstrating, I said something that I had not said before. I stated something that I hadn't stated before. And when I stated these words, the energy of the subject completely changed, and she was about to start giving out all types of do it this way and do it this way and do it this way, which I didn't really need that. I knew we hit the nail on the head. But it was interesting to watch the energy. But what I said was, I'm not here to war with you. I'm not going to war with you because we're not at war. We're at peace. And when I said that, the energy changed. She called the other one to back off, go back, I've got it. And then the commands that we gave were admonished and acknowledged. We're not at war, and we're not going to be at war. We're not going to war. So please don't let anyone tell you that and have that come out of your mouth. Because for those who claim that they're at war, the system the system has to do what you say. It has to do what you say. And so the moment we said that, the acting stopped. The craziness stopped. I realize that that's a very powerful spell to say we're not at war. I am not at war with you. Because why would we war with subjects? Why? We wouldn't. And then she told me exactly what I willed to hear from her. And then I went my way. It's important, if I can stress that, let me stress that. Because see, even the ones that come in here, we're not at war with you either. And I'm going to speak directly to you, to the subjects previously in the office of court jesters and accusers and etc. We're not at war with you. We don't war with our subjects. You can stop acting. Stop acting. Stop acting. Stop acting. We're not at war with you, and we will not go to war with you. War is beneath our dignity and our nobility. Why would we war on our own vast estate? We wouldn't. With that being stated, I have a quick question, because as we go into our discussion regarding the subject matter for today. The subject matter for today is entitlements on our vast estate. Accessing entitlement. So I have a question. If you go out onto the land and you see a tree that has fallen, let's say, or a tree that hasn't fallen, and you take a piece of the trunk of the fallen tree and you make a beautiful wooden item, a table, a chair, whatever you make, does whatever it is that you create have value? If so, why or why not? Even from a tree that was quote unquote dead and fallen, and you take it and you craft it into something. Does your creation have value, and if so, why or why not?
Islam.
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 Islam, Empress.
Yes, it has immense value, innumerable value, infinite value.
Why?
Because, first of all, the tree is of the earth, and the earth is the value that everybody desires. And so, second, those who put their energy, their gifts, their talent, their love, their peace, their energy, their serenity, because a lot of times people who have that, desire to make something out of something of a natural resource, that is their gift and calling to do so. So when they do that, it matches the value. Let's just say that it matches the value of the tree that Mother Earth provided for us to utilize. And so,
Islam.
Anyone
else? Islam. Thank you, Empress.
Islam.
Islam, nobility.
Islam.
Islam, nobility.
under the law of use, is how I'm looking at it. Everything has a purpose, and thus it has a value according to its purpose, if that makes sense. So I'm kind of adding to what Sister was saying, under the laws of natural use.
Yes.
We use it for its purpose, to sit on, to put things on, and to care for it, and it cares for us. Islam.
That is very beautiful, very beautiful. It depends on the use of it. That's great.
Yeah,
Islam. Islam nobility. Go ahead, nobility. Islam.
Islam. Yes, it's I have a website. It's called HolyWin. And funny you say that, but I've been I'm good at taking wood and making staffs. I sold hundreds of staffs. I've never made a staff that didn't sell. So not only staff, but hair fall, special hair fall, and things like that. Yeah, it definitely has value. There's no doubt about that. When you can take something with your hands and create something that people appreciate, yes, it's from experience. It definitely has value, lots of value. When you can do that, yeah, it's a gift. It definitely is. Yeah, it's wrong.
Indeed.
Islam.
Empress Shasha first, and then Empress Shatali. Empress Shasha. Islam.
Absolutely, it has value. There's that divine value from nature, from Mother Earth, and the potential that's in that natural item, that natural thing. And then when you, as Empress Angel said, you invest your own value into it, which in itself is a gift, because you're actually, and I'm speaking from personal experience, I take the dirt and turn it into value. And that's not farming, not growing things, but turning fabrics, dyeing it with the dirts and different natural things. And then that value, so the value that I receive from actually making, creating, there's value in the meditation, the magic that's fed to me from actually doing it.
Yes.
And then the value in the people wanting these things. I mean, I use that nature to sustain myself. So there's value on so many different levels. And really, ultimately, I think that we take, again, as I said, the potential that is actually in the divine nature of a thing, and then magnify it, multiply it.
Yes, indeed.
So it's on.
And also, thank you for that, Empress. What does it mean first to the Creator? What does it mean to the Creator first? Is value, is the value, or increases the value of it? And also, what does it mean to others? If that was the intention, what does it mean to others? Islam, Empress Shatali. Oh, go ahead. I apologize. Empress Shasha, were you complete? Islam.
I was just going to add, because you sparked something, I was just going to add that the value that then is given to the Creator spills out, and then it goes out there and touches, and so the people then have the value, they get a value, and then the fact that the people get the value and desire it, then that also brings back, there's that infinity, that exchange. It's a constant thing when it's authentic and it comes from the soul, the soil, and all of those things. It's a continuous magnifying, multiplying value that feeds the soul. I yield now.
Yes, indeed, Empress. That is amazing. Yes, beautifully stated. Empress Shatali.
Islam.
whenever I see something that says handcrafted, I know that it's something special. You know, when people see that, they know that the love went into it, and it's unique. When something is handcrafted, it's unique. You'll never have something that's exactly the same. And so, so if we handcraft it, say the tree is natural, you know, so it's going to last long, and then the beauty of it comes out of it, and then you put your love and care into it, and your artistic touch to it, and plus it's handcrafted, so it's unique. Indeed. Ooh, when you said something about putting love into it, that kind of, you know, the truth center vibrated a little higher. When we think about the things that our ancestors have given us to present. The reason that was someone going to say something else? I yield. Oh, Islam. Anyone else?
Islam. That's the last thing I wanted to add to it was, you know, even the scraps you can use as like mulch or something too for soil.
Yeah. The reason that we presented this question about taking something that has no value or seemingly no value because it's not being used, and putting our creative blessing on it and our creative energy on it in order to give it, to raise the value of whatever it is. We brought that forth regarding, because it's applicable all the way across the board, to include when you craft your own more sovereign dolarium from your printer, you put your energy on it, and then you autograph it and you put your seal on it. Therein lies the value. So, Morris Sovereign Dolarium, as I was watching our Grand Sheikh Taj Tariq Bey, he defined fiat. And so, he did that this past Friday. I'm so grateful for it because it called our attention once again to the things that we're stating and the things that we're demonstrating. And I said, let me pull that definition and really put some energy into that with the Congress. So fiat in Latin, when the word is used in Latin, it means let it be done. Let it be done. This word in English does not mean that. It doesn't mean let it be done in English. In English, it means something created out of, or something with nothing to back it up. There's nothing that supports this creation. Why does this creation exist? What is its use? There's nothing to back it up. And so it's just like the word ab, A-B. Ab in Latin means from. But then when you put it in English and you connect it to a word, it means not. So in English, aboriginal as one word means not original. But when we say aboriginal, it's separated, and that's the Latin term ab, which means from the original. Now, some more feel that they're from the original, and we affirm their statement. We just say original because our bloodline just has not changed. So I wanted us to just take a moment and look at the definition for fiat that's given from the perspective of the subjects who wrote Black's Law Dictionary. Fiat, in English, practice. So we don't practice. We're actually doing. We're living and doing and being. A short order or warrant of a judge or magistrate directing some act to be done. What's wrong with that statement right there regarding even fiat from the last era? Is that those were not judges and those were not magistrates doing that. And they were actors by way of this word act. Actors act. Courts do court actions and manage and govern accounts. The word act can be, yes, Empress Camille says impersonators. It says here in this definition, continuing on, an authority issuing from some competent source for the doing of some legal act. So when we're talking about Mores Savandalarium, we are the authority, we're the competent ones, and the things, and our use of Dalarium is a legal action, legal tender. Indeed. So it says here one of the proceedings, and proceedings is that's a court word, and we know that that the actors are not real courts. One of the proceedings in the English bankrupt practice, English bankrupt practice, not the ancient English one, but that's English in the civil sense of the word. One of the proceedings in the English bankrupt practice being a power signed by the Lord Chancellor addressed to the Court of Bankruptcy, authorizing the petitioning creditor to prosecute his own complaint before that fake court. That's self-prosecution. So in the last era, when we were using fiat, those green things that we didn't create, that was self-prosecution. Self-prosecution. Empress Rosetta says self-incrimination. Yes. Why? Because we were not the court of bankruptcy. We were actually the authorizing creditor, not the petitioning creditor, but the authorizing creditor. So they're saying that if that when you're using it, you're the creditor, but you cannot. But being a petitioner and a creditor, those two don't even go together. Those two don't go together. So I'm glad.
Phoenix started from the bottom, and he's still the bottom.
I'm grateful that our Grand Sheik brought that up in terms of fiat and the definition thereof, because again, we cannot prosecute ourselves when we use our own money because we created it by congressional action, not act, action. It says here, and listen, when you self-prosecute or prosecute your own selves and your own complaint by using fiat, it says right here in the dictionary, fiats were abolished. So then we should have no issues with using our own money. We should have no issues with that. No one, when we first introduced Morris Savandalarium, you know, there were even some who are of our same bloodline and birthright saying that's monopoly money. That's monopoly money. Well, the dictionary says fiats were abolished, so it couldn't be fiat. We're not fiat people. We're fiat in the Latin sense and not in the English common sense. Joint fiat in English law, a fiat in bankruptcy issued against two or more trading partners. So when we say terminate all corporate contracts, you don't want to be a trading partner with a bankrupt court entity, rather. You don't want to be a co-debtor. You don't want to be a co-debtor. That is the purpose of termination of all corporate contracts. So, and then it says here, fiat justitia. Well, we have to look and say, are they saying fiat justitia in English or are they saying it in Latin? Let justice be done. That means that is the Latin definition for that. It's not the English definition. It's the ancient English definition. Ancient English and Latin are the same thing. On a petition to the king for his warrant to bring a writ of error in Parliament, he writes on the top of the petition, fiat justitia, and then the writ of error is made out, etc. Yakub. In other words, when they say Yakub at the end, they're saying that the English, those who do things in English, those who are speaking English, who are a part of the Yakubian experiment, are taking that definition for themselves. That's what that means. They're taking the Latin definition for themselves. And fiat justitia ruat celum, let right, just a moment. It's got a little bit too big there. Just a moment. Now, fiat justitia ruat celum, look at that one, Morris. Yes, something made by hand is authentic. We don't need anyone to authenticate Morris Savandalarium. It's made by our hands. We don't need anyone to authenticate it. It's already authentic because it's coming from the author. But look here, fiat justitia ruat celum. Let right be done though the heavens should fall. Let fiat be finished though the heavens should fall. Let Morris Savandalarium be activated and the heavens won't fall. Islam. Just a moment, let me clear that out. Just a moment. Okay. So now, what we want to bring forth also and state that more sovereign dolarium gold receipts do not fit the definition of fiat. Not the English definition of fiat.
What a bunch of...
So, I want to take just a moment to thank Empress Ravana for her quick thumbs and fingers on making sure that the meeting stays orderly. Thank you, Empress Ravana. So we know that Moorish sovereign dolarium gold receipts are lawful money and legal currency, and that's going to be important because the legal standing for Moorish sovereign dolarium is in the definition of fiat. So within that definition, because Moorish sovereign dolarium gold receipt does not fit the definition of the English word fiat, it then fits the Latin definition of let it be done. Bona fides exigit ut quod convenit fiat. Good faith demands that what is agreed upon shall be done. And that we found in Black's Law Dictionary, Islam. So now we want to show you here, in the previous era, the use of U.S. fiat debt notes was the user's failure to organize the bankruptcy commission. Okay, and if you look in Black's Law Dictionary under commission of bankrupt, it will say a commission or authority formally granted by the Lord Chancellor to such persons as he should think proper to examine the bankrupt in all matters relating to his trade and effects, and to perform various other important duties connected with bankruptcy matters. It says, but now under statute 1 and 2, a fiat issues instead of such commission. In other words, because the Moors in our sleep enactment had not unified like we've done now, and stated on the record that the bankrupt are bankrupt and that the creditors are standing and holding trial regarding that, that they said, okay, they're not organized, they're not enacting being an organized body, so just give them fiat, English fiat, not Latin fiat, English fiat. And every time that stuff was being used, whoever is using it is saying that they've not yet organized the bankruptcy commission. But now we know more that we've already done that. So now what are we doing? In order to demonstrate that we do not have to use fiat, we're going to demonstrate that. We're going to continue to demonstrate it. Let me say, and we pointed this out in the last meeting, that when we use our stamps, right, at the post office, we use our stamps, our own stamps that we created. Let's really quickly show one of those stamps. I believe I have them here, one of them here from the last meeting. Let's see. Okay. Just a moment. Okay, so what we'll do is pull up one of our sheets. Yes, indeed, Empress. Just one moment. Let me pull up our stamps here. Okay. So here's our stamp that we created on the public record. Just one moment. Let me make sure that you can see that. So when I say we created it, we saw one out there that we were using initially. And the more we looked at it and studied it, it needed to be created and restated properly. And so this is money right here that you see on the screen. It's currency. It's money. And let me go ahead and just take a quick. And we'll go ahead and put that here on the screen. This stamp is money because we created it. Okay. Now, what are we saying about our Morris Savandalarian food stamp program? The reason that we're defining the things that we're defining is because we are in the process of demonstrating Morris Savandalarian on the public record where grocery stores and things of that nature are concerned. In addition to the supreme law for the land, this program is covered by the mature justice issued for receiving or receipt purposes, which is absolutely due without contingency and is hereby liquidated and presently now instantly payable and settled on presentment of legal tender, which is Morris Savandalarian food stamps. Now, we've stated already on the public record that Morris Savandalarian can be, you can call yours vouchers if you want to call them vouchers. You can call them dollars if you want to call them dollars. You can call them gold receipts if you want to call them gold receipts. You can call them stamps if you want to call them stamps. Whatever because they serve a multitude of purposes. They are valuable at all levels of commerce. So what we've done here is pulled up some case law, and I'll put this case law in a link to it in the chat. So that you can do the study on this case law as well. Just a moment. There's the link in the chat to this case law for your study. And this is what it says. Now, this case law is based on a case where there was a lease issued to a corporation, and the corporation was a foreign corporation, okay, that accepted citizenship on the land for the landlord. So they agreed to a landlord-tenant relationship with a construction of a lease. So they constructed a lease and then entered into a covenant to pay taxes. And so it says here, a lease made in another state of land, there must be construed according to that state's law. A lease made in another state of land, there must be construed according to that state's law. Under provisions of a lease to a corporation of which a receiver was later appointed, which means that it was automatically in bankruptcy, they had June 1st set as the last day of filing claims, that the lessee should punctually pay and discharge all taxes, which shall be paid within 60 days after becoming due and payable, and that if such an amount should not be paid at the time or in the manner aforesaid, the lessor might treat it as added to and collectible with the month's rent next thereafter to become due, or might pay it himself and look to the lessee for repayment within 10 days after his payment. The lessor on June 1st had no matured and provable claim against the lessee. Respecting unpaid taxes due May 1st. In the proceedings, receivership of a lessee corporation, and then it goes on to talk about their stance and the statuses of the two parties. Okay, the statuses of the two parties is tenant landlord status. Tenant landlord status. So with tenant landlord status, which again, we are the lords for the land, we know that, and everyone else knows it too. The last era is considered another state of mind. Okay, that's what the last era was. It was another state of mind. Another state includes another state of mind. Once a receiver has been appointed, the state of the land changes. Now, from those who've been present in the last few Congresses, at least for the last year or year and a half, has bankruptcy been declared and has a receiver been appointed? Let me just ask you that question. Islam.
Islam, yes. We have declared, affirmed, stated, restated, livingly, continuously state that yes, bankruptcy has been stated and declared. We have seized and lawfully reclaimed all. And so when you was breaking this down, release made in another state of land, there must be construed according to that state, that state's law. Okay. And can we get to the meaning of construed?
Construed. The only reason that they use the word construed is it means how do you see it, your perspective. How do you think of it? How do you define it? Because they cannot assign a definition to words for us. We do that for ourselves.
And so that goes back to what you were stating, a state of mind.
Yes.
In this matter. And because they're speaking about two jurisdictions here, they perceive it to be one, but it's really three, actually, because the state of mind, the corporate state, and then the de jure state. So.
Yes.
Because you can have a state of mind in the corporate state, and you can have a state of mind in the de jure state.
Yes. So we thought in the last era that we were the debtors because we kept paying using their fiat.
And that was a state of mind. Fictitiousness.
That was a state of mind. Our state of mind is different now. We know who we are, which changes the state of the land and the commerce.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And so it says here, once a receiver has been appointed, the state of the land changes. Thus, the law governing the land becomes the law that the receiver states, puts, or positions for the newly stated agreement. So we have stated on the public record, yes, and Empress Camille, yes, we are the state, indeed. Empress Chitali put something in the chat saying that no receiver had been stated. We actually stated receivership in the bankruptcy proceedings that we did.
Because the receiver is also known as a beneficiary.
Entitled, a receiver, yes, a receiver is actually a fiduciary beneficiary.
As well, yes.
Yeah. And then they started throwing in all these terms about at the time of the manner of the payment and things becoming due and payable, et cetera, et cetera. So we stated in our bankruptcy proceedings, as we have several roles in the bankruptcy proceeding. None of those roles is a co-debtor.
Ever.
None. We're the creditors. We're not even petitioning creditors because who we petition? Ourselves. Yes, Justice Malik says fiduciary error, indeed. So the stamps that we place on the food items, because see, we're talking about now a food stamp program and a grocery store where the state of the grocery store and its location has changed. It has changed. And that was something that I made clear in the demonstration that I did just this last week, and they actually acquiesced because they don't really have a choice. They had to acquiesce that, yes, this is your land. Yes, it is. That could not be denied. I don't care what was happening. And even when once I said I was not there to war with them. And then I said, do you understand that this is our land you're standing on? Not one time did they say, no, we don't understand that. This is not, no. They never said anything of that nature. They got quiet and mute. And then I proceeded with my court action. And sometime in the future, I'll tell you what that demonstration was about. It wasn't about stamps. It wasn't about any of that. It was about our status as Postmasters General. And that's what that, and she gave the information that was necessary for us to move to the next step, which is, and we moved to the next step and presented ourselves again the following day. And there's no rebuttal to that. So now, what we're stating right now regarding the food stamp program is that Delarium is a food stamp simply because the food has changed states. But let's just look some more at that according to the meanings of these words. It says something about matured, something about a mature. They had no matured and provable claim against the lessee respecting unpaid taxes. So in order for unpaid taxes to be collected, there must be a mature and provable claim, and the claim must be proven. Well, how do you prove a claim? Can someone tell me how do you prove a claim?
Islam. You write an affidavit and you put on the public record, and that is your claim, unrebutted.
That is correct. There is also more to it from the financial perspective, because all claims have a financial perspective. And see, I'm glad you said that, Empress, because Moors in the past, and I've done it as well, we would put our nationality on the public record and do an affidavit claiming something. And then we wondered, okay, well, what gives them the right to bar us from this place or this benefit, even though we put that stuff, our nationality documents on the public record and our claim on the public record? What gave them the authority to bar us from it? Well, what gave them the authority to bar is because we said that until we honor the system, and this is what we stated from ancient times, when the system is honored, then the benefit or the entitlement is accessed and received and enjoyed. Received and enjoyed by the entitled heir, the entitled beneficiary. That means you have a title. So now that we know that we can access food on our land, because the jurisdiction and the state of every building, every structure, every item, everything at earth is in our ancient jurisdiction. All of it. All of it is. And we stated that properly. So now how do we go and possess physically, because this is the fiscal year, the physical year. How do we go and possess? After we've put all the documentation on the public record, Empress Angel said to put an affidavit. It cannot just be any affidavit. It must be a competent one. So you're absolutely correct, Empress Angel, about that. The affidavit must be a lien affidavit, a levy affidavit, and a bond affidavit on the public record. And the bond, if you'll notice, our bonds are nominated in Moorish sovereign dollarium, in our money. And so as we begin to access food items, for example, proper notification, and we stated it up further, there's three things that are necessary. First, you must be at peace, because we're not at war. That must be stated clearly. We're at peace. We're not at war with anyone on our own vast estate. That's number one. Number two, we stated that the lawful and legal process must be on the public record, and then proper notification given. That's part of the legal process. And then number three, we stated that, let me go back up, that our actions, we must demonstrate number one and number two. We must demonstrate that. It is written first, and then we demonstrate it. Now, we've already demonstrated that we have the authority to issue money with our stamp process. It is, and the system honors the stamp process. Well, there's no difference between this stamp process that you see on the screen and any other stamp process that we have initiated and activated. There's no difference between the two. No difference whatsoever. So the stamps that we place on food items is going to look just like this right here. So let me just state for the record what our process is going to look like. Our process is going to look like, and this is again down the road just a little bit, and we could probably do it this week. The stickers, the labels. Print these banners for Amity and Commerce on some stickers. And this is after we've notified them that this is what's going to be happening. Okay. There's a question in the chat that says who should they contact if the post office doesn't honor what they're doing. The post office will honor everything that you're doing when it's done properly. That is for certain. The system, because it's not even people, it's a system that's doing the work. There are subjects that are watching the systems, but those systems are doing the work. So the stamp that we'll place on the food items when the time comes for us to go into the grocery stores, put these stamps on whatever food items that we're purchasing with our More Sovereign Dolarium. And then we take those items to the register. And when we take them to the register, they're rung up under the cash button. And then we give the Dolarium. And here's the thing about Dolarium. Print out plenty of it because in the lower denominations, the ones, the 5s, the 10s, the 20s, the 50s, the 100s, print them out in lower denominations because they're going to be rounding. The system is going to round up to the next dollar where change is concerned. So the items will ring up under the cash button. And then the remaining change, and we don't want to give them a $1 trillion bill. We're not going to give $1 trillion bills. We have them, but that's not what they're for. They're not for a $57 grocery bill. They're not for a $50 food bill. $50, when we're competent to know this, $50 is for a $50 food bill, and that's 50 in More Sovereign Dolarium dollars. And so keep your 1s, your 5s and 10s and with you so that if it's $56, you can give $56. If it's $156, you can give $156. And then you'll want to shop reasonably for you and your family. Reasonably. When we first start this program, which we're starting it now, for those who are competent to do the program, that means go back and look at the documents that we've placed on the public record and make sure you have those documents on the public record as well. If you don't have them, take the time to do them. A minimum of those 6 documents, but you're going to need the lien, levy, and bond process as well, so that those at your territory can have copies of it and issue and get groceries for themselves as well. When we first issue a program, it's always those who are standing who have the most work to do, and that's okay. We don't mind having the most work to do. And then those who come can simply just bring Dolarium or share Dolarium among each other and get whatever it is that they're wanting for that day or that 3-day period or that 1-week period. We don't want to go in and get groceries for a whole year because it's not going to last a whole year. We'll get it for 1 day or 1 week of food items. And it's rung up under cash, and then they just put the Dolarium in the same way they would cash. That's the same way that the food stamp program was done initially as well, where they issued food stamps and the food stamps had denominations on them. And then when they had denominations on them, they were treated as money. Okay. That's a good question in the chat. We'll get to that in just a moment. Food stamp. Any federal stamps, given of various denominations, that's delarium, okay, when we are restating this definition. Various denominations given or sold, and we give them, we don't sell them, we give them. That's why the ancestors had us reverse engineer everything that we're doing and not sell the stuff, because that would have corrupted what we're doing, and we are not going to corrupt. We've begun taking gold in for delarium. Still, it says given at less than face value to qualifying unemployed or low-income persons for use in place of cash in buying food. Now, this is a hypothecated, subrogated definition of a food stamp. The federal government gets to state, has the authority to state what the food stamp, who it's for, and how it is used. Our food stamps are money, so they are used as money, which is why we denominated them from the very beginning in ones and fives and tens and 20s and 50s and hundreds and thousands and 5,000s and 10,000s, etc. That is why we did that. Now, there was a question in the chat, how do the subjects do this? The subjects use Moorish sovereign delarium at the grocery store, and they just prove that they have a statement, an affidavit on the public record stating what we said about those affidavits that subjects put on the record regarding their status, that they are under the sovereign authority of the federal government, the United States federal government. So that won't be a stretch. It won't be a stretch for them to do that. And just put the living United States federal government. Or you can just put United States, the living United States, that you are doing these actions under the authority of the living United States, and then reference the bond number, and then we'll be issuing bonds for each of the store chains. Okay? So that way anyone can take more sovereign delarium and go and get whatever it is that's necessary for them and for their families. Stamp. An impression made by public authority, okay, an impression. So think about the word impression and then think about the word depression. Because see, they keep talking about a recession and a depression. If you're using stamps from the last era, that might apply. But when you are using living stamps, then the last era's depression and recession will not apply. And so now an impression made by public authority, and they say in pursuance of law, but we say we are the law, upon paper or parchment. Now this is where fiat in the last era came from. They said, well, they have to issue some stamps. So when people, and this is why grocery stores did not take gold and silver coinage. Okay, that's why they didn't take it. Because it didn't have a stamp on it on paper or parchment upon which certain legal proceedings, conveyances or contracts are required to be written. It is written, it is written, it is written. That's why we've been doing the demonstrations that we've been doing on paper, and for which a tax or duty is exacted. Exacted. That's what that word is. That means it's not an act. Exacted. They use the word, they know which words they're using. That's not an accident. It says a small label or strip of paper bearing a particular device printed and sold by the government, and we don't sell them, we print them and we grant them or give them, and required to be attached to mail matter or to some other articles subject to duty or excise. So when it comes to even conveyances and things, we literally have to go and put our stamp on that conveyance, our banner for amity and commerce on that conveyance. And of course, with proper notification, proper documentation on the public record, and all of that. Yes, it's work. What else have we got to do? Nothing but this work, govern, and take full advantage of everything that belongs to us. And that's everything. Stamp Acts. In English law, regulating the stamps upon deeds, contracts, agreements, papers in law proceedings. Now, they didn't say legal proceedings. They said law proceedings. They used the word legal up at the top, meaning you have to have both, the legal and the lawful. Bills and notes, letters, receipts, and other papers. Duties imposed upon. Imposed means positioned from within. Upon and raised from stamps upon parchment and paper. And listen to this part, Moors. And forming a branch of the perpetual revenue of the kingdom. Didn't we just say the words infinity and eternal? Didn't we just use those words? We just talked about those words earlier in the same Congress. Perpetual revenue, and for us, it's revenue of the empire. So again, all the processes that we do and the things that we've laid out, in order for subjects to do them, they just put for subjects, it's a lot easier to access things than it is for the government, because the government has a responsibility and a duty to competently govern these things, so that everyone else, everyone, the citizens, the subjects, and everyone can get whatever it is on the land. Yes, we have a greater responsibility. To whom much is given, much is required. So the subjects can just put an affidavit on the public record and use their delarium that they get from any of the Moors for any of the things that are being done for food and things. It's going to require that the subjects save your delarium. When you get your delarium, save it, because it's going to go a long way at the grocery stores and things. Because when we put that banner, and you can put, let me see, we're going to first demonstrate it so that we can add more information to how the subjects do it. Okay, but as it stands right now, we're the ones that are going to put that banner for amity and commerce on the products, and then take the products to the register and have them rung up under cash and issue the delarium. And this is, again, after proper notification for all those subjects in the office of grocery store clerks and workers and things. So again, some might have thought that, and I'll say that a different way. we've heard more say that they don't care to do all of this paperwork, that they know who they are in the spirit realm, and they can just state who they are. We get that. But our systems recognize paper, the documentation. So there is some documentation that must be done, because that's what if you want to access the system. Now, if you don't want to do paperwork, then you can just go out onto the land and get whatever you are getting for you and your family, but it cannot be commercial things, simply because commerce is done by the systems. It's done by the system. That's why these systems are put in place. That's why our ancestors did it. So people won't go out on the land fighting and fussing, and no one has properly claimed anything. No one's properly done any paperwork or documentation to prove your claim. And so that's what these systems are for. And we are definitely not to be arguing with the subjects. Moors who argue back and forth with subjects, that means the Moor has more work to do, not the subject. Subjects are doing what they are supposed to do, which is bar access to the estate until we come competently. That was their job. And I'll say this about the demonstration that I did even with the post office, that I of course I provided what our systems say is necessary, but I could have gone into the back and did an inspection back there if I wanted to do an inspection. Had I had that one thing, because the paperwork was all proper and they knew it. They knew it was proper for what we came to do. And so they said, well, you have to have one of these. So, and what she said, the way she said it, she was still in subject status. She wasn't trying to bar me, because she couldn't bar me. But they know that we're going to do the proper thing and not war, and present so that the system recognizes everything that we're doing, so that legally no one can come in and say, you got to get out of here because you're not supposed to be here. No. Legally, the porter, according to the scripture, the porter is going to open the door and say, the Lord has arrived. Yeshua has returned. Come on back. And whatever it is, everything is open to you. You have full access. So we see now that stamps, when the system honors the stamp, we are now collecting perpetual revenue. Perpetual revenue. That means eternal, it means infinite, it means without end, and it means it's going to keep happening over and over and over and over and over. That's what perpetual is, over and over and over. So now you have all three together. You have eternal, you have perpetual, and you have infinite. And we just do that repeatedly over and over. I pulled this definition up because it added even more to the stamp portion of the food stamp program. It's about what is the stamp. It says the act of stamping, as in stamp of the foot. Now, remember, Moors, as babies, our foot there was an impression made of our foot on a piece of paper. That was the stamp. Because mother said it was. Because mother said it was. Empress Camille says, where do we get these stamps? The stamp is you can pull the banner for Amity and Commerce, which is it's at the top of all your documents. It's right up here in the letterhead. That's where the stamp is. That's a banner for Amity and Commerce. Right there on the screen. The stars are leading the way. And that's why the cosmos is doing all of this meteor shower stuff this month. The cosmos, the stars are leading the way. And the stripes are on the back. By his stripes we are healed. The stripes go on the back, not the front. Behind the stars, not in front of them. So that's the stamp right there. So now let's take a look about the foot. In the Biblioteliotext, the Bible, it says this: wherever you plant your feet is yours. That's your inheritance. Wherever you plant your feet, that's your inheritance. So when you put your stamp, that's like stamping your feet on something and saying, this is mine. This is my inheritance. So we started doing that on documentation, with government. And of course, we first did it by appearing on the land. It says an instrument for making impressions or marks on other bodies. On other bodies. So the grocery stores were in a different state from the last era. Now they're in our state. And so as other bodies, we put stamps. Yes, yes. She said tattoos. Yes, on other bodies, not on ours. It says here an engraved block by which a mark may be delivered by pressure. The word engraved, the root word of that is grave. So for us, we would restate this definition and say an embossed block. Because see, we don't engrave our stuff, we emboss our stuff, our documentation, our paper, our document. By way of a mark. No one can buy nor sell unless they have a mark. I'm going to leave that right out there and let your spirit tell you what that's all about. A mark or figure impressed or imprinted, an impression. A distinguishing mark, sign, or impression. Just one moment. Yes, Empress said, she says trademark. Just one moment. Well, you say certain things and a distinguishing mark, a sign, or an impression. And look at number 5, a character. A character is a letter or a word or a picture or, something in a picture. A character, a reputation. And that's why we use the word put or position up here. Right here it says, the law that the receiver states, puts, or positions for the newly stated agreement. A reputation. That means we're putting something back where it should be so that it has good character and not bad. And then number 6, just kind of like really did it for me. Kind, class, type, and character. That's species. Species. That which is stamped or marked. A metal. A metal. A metal.
Islam, Empress.
Islam.
There's another one that's between there, but you kind of touched on it when you said to kind of reinstate things, and I thought about it has south over there to the side, right?
Yes, a peculiar stamp of impiety, yes.
Exactly. I saw a compass which had south on that side, so it speaks about navigation and bringing out of maritime and putting it back on the land or in proper standing.
Yes, indeed, indeed. Maritime and admiralty are not, they're not bad when they're done by the right gods, or the only gods, really. Those are good things. The water is peaceful. There's no lost at sea and things of that nature. When they say that, when they talk about coinage, anything that's stamped or marked is considered a metal. It's considered coinage. And dolarium is definitely coinage because we coined it. By definition, it's coinage. Because look up the word coin. Coin, first of all, means a sovereign. But it also means to create. To create. If you look at the Jerome Daly case, the case of First National Bank versus Jerome Daly, that case law, you will see that the actor previously doing business as a judge in that case stated that only God can create something out of nothing. So a picture cut in wood or metal, and metal and medal are the same word. Or made by impression, and they say in engraving, we say embossing, a plate. And think about the word plate when you think about whose table you sit at and whose food you eat. It's always been our food. And see, as we continue to do this demonstration, you're going to find a lot more natural foods showing up in the stores. A lot more natural foods. And even things like natural wines and things of that nature. Because wine and alcohol was things that we use for medicinal purposes and also for relaxation and pleasure, the same way that they were doing peace pipes and things of that nature. There's a natural element to all of that. And so all we're doing is stating the natural element for that. A mark, a seal, a seal. A stamp is a seal used to show officially that a tax has already been paid. Not that one is due, but that it's been paid. Authority has been given and service performed. Now, when we say that it's been paid, we have to give, our system states that we give the system a reminder of how much that tax was or is. There has to be some accounting done. That's why we can create dolarium and give it and prepay for everything. It's already been paid for, but that's a measure of accounting. Money was always supposed to be an accounting measure. It was never supposed to be something where people are thrown in jail and held underwater and things of that nature. It was supposed to be an accounting mechanism, a unit of a store of value, a unit of measure. So with that being stated, a small piece of paper. Now we're still looking at the definition for the word stamp. A small piece of paper imprinted on the face with a distinctive design or picture and usually gummed on the back. Issued by a government for a specified price and required to be affixed to a letter, parcel, document, commodity subject to duty, etc. And food is a commodity subject to duty because it grows from the earth. As evidence that the prescribed fee as for carrying mail has been paid. Any more or less similar piece of paper issued by an organization, business firm, etc., such as trading stamps. Number 11 and 12 is when I saw that, I was just like, okay, no problem. A stamp, authority or currency, as that given by a stamp. Money, especially paper money, and they put the word slang there. That's actually truth. A stamp is money, and it's honored as money by the post office system. In the manufacture of leather, a machine for softening hides by pounding them in a vat. In metallurgy, a kind of pestle raised by water or steam power for beating ores to powder. Also anything like a pestle used for pounding or beating. The Stamp Act. Now this is important. An act, that means it wasn't real, passed by the British Parliament in 1765, imposing a duty on all paper, parchment, etc. used in the American colonies and declared all writings on unstamped materials to be null and void. Sound like some restatement to me. If you're talking about writings and nullifying and calling things null and void, like what we're doing as we're restating all of this stuff, we're saying anything that we don't write and state is null and void. It says it aroused so much opposition that it was repealed in March 1766, but it really wasn't because they had already started rewriting everything in the enactment. But there's restatement right there, declaring all writings on unstamped materials to be null and void. Now, we can do that too. We've already done it, really. Anything written by anyone else is null and void for us. We get to change these definitions according to how, what we state to be law, which we're the law, so we can do that. Now, we're also going to declare, and this is after a certain time period, I think probably, and let me know what you think about this, nobilities, that all of the stamps at the post office are going to be null and void in 1 year. In 1 year, null and void. And that'll give the other, anyone else, Moors, the nations, the states, the governments, the ability to create stamps of their own. We can put our teachers on stamps and have those stamps go through the post office. We're already doing it. We've already created stamps that go through the post office. But we can do a stamp with, and I won't state any appellations. I think I can hear in the spirit realm a lot of people, I can hear the appellations being that you're thinking of. And yes, and yes, for putting their images, their holy images on stamps. But that's for another, as we again move forward, we'll vote on that the same way we voted on the images for Delarium and other things. Now, look at this, Morris. All land, all natural resources, and all commerce is government property and is hereby public unless stated otherwise by the government. This is the Fifth Amendment Takings Clause. In Black's Law Dictionary, there is a definition for public store. A government warehouse maintained for certain administrative purposes, such as the keeping of military supplies, the storing of imported goods under bonds to pay duty. So we're not at war, so it's not a place for keeping military supplies. I mean, we can say military supplies, but we're not at war. We can. The best way to keep peace is to ensure that peace remains by having a strong army or a strong military. But we're already strong. So those are not military supplies at the store because, again, that wouldn't be public. It would be military. So what we're stating is that the imported goods are under bonds to pay duty. So what are we doing? We're going to bond. Right, Empress Camille, thank you for that. That would be commissary. Military supplies, that's not a public store, that's a commissary. And the root word of commissary is mission. And the reason why they call it commissary is because they put the word CO in front of it because we have to agree that there's a war and there's a military, and we don't agree to that because we're at peace and we're going to stay at peace. And we are peace, and we're not arguing with our subjects. Our subjects are present, and they're not arguing, and we're not arguing. So Islam.
When you stated that the year for the stamps from the other side to be vanquished as far as no longer being seen, that's also that is going to be the year for us to effectuate our money and because we already agreed that stamp is money and money comes from the post office, which is the bank. And so when you made that statement, you made the statement that all of our money is going to be fully, manifested, made clear by a year. I'd say less, but I'll take the year.
Well, it's already manifested. We got it in our hands and we're using it. Morse have been sending it out. The stamps have been going through the system. The system recognizes our money.
Well, yes, I'm aware, and we use it here at New York. I was stating this as far as like everywhere, no place untouched.
Yeah.
I was stating.
Affirmed, yes, Empress, affirmed. Yeah. Yeah. What we're doing, and listen, we're saying a year. But we haven't agreed to a year. I threw a year out there, but we can say 3 months. We can say January.
Well, that would be in alignment with Grand Sheik when he stated on Friday that by that time, January, the corporate fiat would be valued at 1.50 cents. And so we're at 3 now, 3 cents on the dollar, on the fiat rather. And so by then...
That's pathetic. That's just, nobody should be reduced to using that. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, that's crazy. That's that whole, fill a wheelbarrow full of them to get a loaf of bread thing.
And there's been more videos surfacing on Instagram alone about so-called Fiat hundreds, and they're the newer ones that have the Liberty Bell on them, by the way. It's been mended. That has been, just widely being spread everywhere. And I mean, by the boatloads. And people just, some walking by and looking at the people picking it up like you're crazy. And I just saw another video on Instagram where it was a big, huge truck, and they were just unloading bricks of them onto somebody's doorstep. And so they were just like, they weren't happy about it. They were just like, what is this? Why? They know there's no value.
Not only that, they're going to be dogged by I.R.S.actors for the rest of their remaining time of breathing in their enactment. So there's a lot that comes with that. And we rebut all of that. And so, when we are stating about bonding the grocery stores and things of that nature, go ahead and bond, lien, levy, and bond, and then provide proper notification that starting January 1st, they'll be accepting delirium. Do you want to do it that way? I mean, what do you think, Congress? And we actually are going to demonstrate that, like, we're going to be demonstrating that and putting proper notification out now, showing them what delirium looks like. And again, I don't have to have a whole conversation with anybody. I'm going to deliver the documentation and give notification 2 or 3 times. We're going to continue to notify. And again, this is the same process that we used with the post office, quote unquote, when we notified them about our stamps and things and our money. We notified them, and then we put the video out on the public record. And when we put the video out on the public record, it was acknowledged. Just one moment. Just a moment. And just know, too, that I would not, I am not inboxing anyone. I keep, every now and then I see that the imposter come in and out as light Taj. I won't be, I'm not inboxing anyone unless I say I'm inboxing you. So, so let me say this too. As we roll this process and procedure out. Now, Moors, remember when we introduced the Red Lobster program, there was sentiment across the board of acceptance on our part of Red Lobster services, of their work. So this is all this is what do we accept? We accept the work of the workers at the grocery store. We accept the work of the post office workers. Okay? So that's what this is do the Moors accept it? Well, if we bond it, we accept it. If we don't bond it, it's not going to stay anyway. If we want Walmart to stay, we're the CEOs of Walmart. If we want Walmart to stay, the CEO will issue a bond at that territory. And it's territorial now. Any territories that, where you decide you're not going to do bonding, then they may not be there. Cell phone stores and all of that, I actually have to bond them by name here. They're already in all lowercase letters. We just have to bond them properly. And then state that they are a public store with imported goods under bond to pay duty. And then when we do that, the bond and the dolarium are how we manifest that. Now there are some who say that, like when major corporations go and do business, and we know this to be true, when major corporations go to do business, they don't pull out a suitcase full of green things. Right now we're talking about the public. We're talking about everybody, the people, and how the people are doing things, and we, the government, are making it possible for these businesses and places to stay. Me personally, I like Starbucks, so they can stay and introduce some things by our brothers and sisters at South America, some different types of beans and things of that nature from our brothers and sisters at South America that are naturally grown and harvested properly and all of that. That's what all of this is all about. What do we and the subjects want to keep? And the subjects will go, they like the same things we like for the most part. So, as we continue to bond these things and put them in place, the subjects just can show their affidavit, that their affidavit has been placed on the public record, and use dolarium. And dolarium is going to be tributed at all of these places that we bond. Dolarium is going to be tributed to all of them. That's going to be over time also, but they're going to get it first from us. They've already started getting it from us. We've sent the subjects in the Office of Post Office and all of that. We sent them dolarium. They know what it looks like. They already know. So, and we're going to continue sending it out. So as you send your bond information and bond things out, send some dolarium with it so they'll know what it looks like and that it came from you. Put your right red thumbprint, and if you have your embossers, emboss it. Put an embossment on there, a raised embossment on there, on your dolarium. And then, record the numbers that you put out there as well. And those can be for anyone who comes in, because see, at some point, Moors, there may come a time, maybe, when sleeping Moors from other places are going to want to come into the grocery store and get things, and their fiat is not going to work. But they will not have declared their nationality, so then they're going to have to do an affidavit. And people will tell them that, the stores will tell them, we will tell them, do an affidavit that says that you are aligned with the government, and then they'll start doing their research and come to accept their own nationality. So you see now, with these type strategies, even when you look back at the last era, how it was so seemingly so simple to get all of the heirs to agree to be U.S. in the enactment, because they weren't going to get anything if they didn't. So now it's this way. They have to actually be themselves. And those that think they're blacks, they'll have time to do the study. And I will assert to you and state here on the public record that I already know that's going to be a very short window where they say, what? You mean to tell me this is about me? And all of this and all of our faces are on the money, and people that look like us is on the money, and this was all about us. I knew something was going on. Let me declare my nationality.
Islam? When you just mentioned that, it just brought up something that I just learned in further detail this past week. Under the U.S. Patent Trade Office, African American, which was trademarked,
yes,
was under a specific category. Are you aware of that category? Don't say what it is. Yes or no?
Not under the, well,
U.S. Patent Trade Office.
Go ahead. All right.
And what it stated, and the brother Asir, the Duke of Tears, I give him credit for sharing that with us because he showed us, this is the number that is trademarked under, and this is the category that it's under. It's categorized. When you're claiming African American, which is a trademark patented label, it's like U.S. prime beef, stamped on your forehead that says Ponderosa, Bonanza, and in this case, you're categorized under, for business purposes, meats, M-E-A-T-S, meat, and processed foods.
Yes.
That's what African American is.
That makes sense to me. That's why I said chattel. That makes sense.
Yeah. And chattel is cattle, and your meats and processed foods. So for those who have been holding out and still going with that old agenda, they're going to be going to the slaughterhouse, okay, spiritually speaking, perhaps physically speaking, because the corporation has to do what? It has to gather all of its assets, and they got to be liquidated.
Yes.
There's got to be some sacrifices. So some of these that are hardened and their hearts ain't changed, and they look like us but ain't us, and projecting all that, okay, well, I guess the system will take care of them too. They're going to get processed as what they are and what they claim to be.
Wow.
So I just have to throw that out there because that's the reality.
Wow.
And all of this is being revealed over these last few years as it's the time of revelation. It's the time for things to be revealed.
Yes.
And for those few that have been holding out, don't want to know, want to keep their head stuck in the sand like the ostrich does,
yes.
Guess what? You're going to get run over. I just look at all that and I say, well, yes, this is our time. And there is no way to get around what's coming.
Yeah.
We're going to have to stand up and proclaim who we are and be who we are, like the prophet said, or you're going to get run over and you're going to be processed as what you are and what you claim to be. Unfortunately. I yield.
We knew this was coming, nobility, and that's why the ancestors had us night and day feverishly, not feverishly, but joyfully working on this process of why. First of all, the word slaughter means it means slain flesh, because you're talking about meat, slain flesh, to slay in a brutal manner, the killing in a brutal manner. And killing happens on paper first when people are made a corpse and not a living body.
Yeah, done on paper first. Isn't that what they did to genocide the people? Because we didn't go nowhere. We were here. It was done on paper. Walter Plecker.
Yes.
All right.
Plecker,
there's no more Indians. There's no more Native, Aboriginal, Indigenous people because they didn't have it in the Census Bureau on paper. So we've been genocided on paper first. So why would slaughtering be any different?
And fortunately, we know better, and we're not genocided. We're here today. Islam. So Islam, Empress. Islam, Empress.
2020, I did a demonstration with Safeway, grocery stores, grocery outlet, and Office Depot. And I did liens and the whole nine. And then I went into the stores, and so I talked to the managers, and they would say, okay, well, how do we do it? They didn't say we don't think, you are who you are. They cut to the chase. Okay, so what do we need to do? And I said, because I wasn't expecting that. So I kind of backed out. I'll get back to you later. But so to talk about executing our delirium and everything in January sounds good to me. But whenever we do it, I'm really ready for it because I got a response,
Yeah.
So I can come back with something because that was the only thing that was stopping me. I was really expecting some kind of pushback. None. They just want to know how to get it done.
Because they already know that we are who we state that we are. We've always been. And they also know, because see, they can see on the other side of that previous financial system, and I'm going to put that in air quotes because that's not what it was. In that enactment, listen to what has happened. What has happened is that other thing died. It was dead from the beginning, but it was declared dead. That means those green things were declared dead. And then they said, well, we have to put something else out there. So we're going to do CBDCs, central bank digital currency. That was their supposed enactment of trying to get out of that last thing, which they didn't do in the enactment. They didn't get away with, you don't slip away from all of that debt and just create a new system. There's somebody that's coming to look for the payment. There's some creditors somewhere. So then the states, and I'm putting that in air quotes too, started saying we're outlawing, as a state, we're outlawing CBDCs. Well, where is that going to leave the people? Where is that? Because the other thing ain't work. No one's accepting those green things, and they may be accepting them where some of you are, not for long. And they're not accepting them in most of the places, especially around here. So this was the perfect time for us to do what we're doing and to demonstrate the way we're demonstrating. Now, we're saying January 1st, but for us, it's nunc-pro-tunc, so we're demonstrating it now. We're going to be creating the bonds, notifying. This is notification time anyway. That way, by the time January 1st gets here, the rise of the Red House, January 1st, gets here, and we're already standing and governing. But this is notification time. So you don't have to wait to notify about this. You notify now. That January 1st, this is the program. This is what's happening with food stamps. Because remember, the SNAP program is done. And people are worried about that. People are worried about that. So what we're doing, Empress Camille, she said gone in a snap. Wow. So it was always the government's responsibility to do what we're doing. Now, ensure that, and we'll show you our documentation as well, how, what we're sending out on the bond, and I have to remember to put it on there. On the bond, we're going to show what the stamp is. It's going to be our banner for amity and commerce, which is the stamp that goes on our Moorish sovereign dollarium as we demonstrate that.
Islam, Empress.
Islam.
So you just stated the Amity and Commerce banner is going to be made a stamp. Then you said you were going to put it on the bond. So I'm looking at the second page, as I have printed it out, as I restated the post office one. Would it go on the line as whereas, and then the image would go there, being sovereignly authorized representatives for the United States government as warranted contracting officers have hereby ruled that the lien is no longer required? Would it go in that area?
The name of the grocery store will go there because, again, we're still the representatives for the grocery store.
Okay. So where would the image of the flag go?
So the flag
the banner, rather,
would go where it says corporate seal.
The banner would go corporate where?
where it says corporate seal on the bid bond, payment bond, and action bond.
Oh, so we got to start putting that on all of them.
For things like grocery store, wherever, yes, because that's going to be the part where everything, yes.
So where it says seal on, let's see, the fourth page. Yeah, this is the fourth page.
It'll say corporate seal. Yeah.
Corporate seal, and then put the banner.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. For grocery stores, for stores at the mall, for stores, other places and things of that nature, that's where it goes.
So we don't have to do a bond for the Amity and Commerce banner. Because that's how I understood it.
Why would we do a bond for it? What was your understanding of that?
Because when you stated bond the banner, I thought we was gonna create a whole bond for that to bond the banner. I don't know. That's what came to my mind.
We don't have to bond the banner because it is an instrument of this living United States.
Okay.
That's already bonded.
Okay.
And just for those who are thinking this, because I can kind of hear the thinking about that, we are not corporations. We govern corporations.
Indeed.
Our government is we're government. We're actually even the government at fact.
Mm-hmm.
We're factually the government. We are the actual government.
Yes. Oh, and to affirm what the Grand Sheik livingly repeatedly states, that we don't have to reinvent the wheel, and as you, Empress Light, states, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. When you understand the motu proprio, when the actor stated America Major and America Minor, the America Minor always worked for the America Major, but we thought the corporate fiction was the major and there was no minor. And now we understand that we are and always will be the major, and the corporate fiction was the minor. And that also goes into the point of when we thought we were the minority instead of the majority. That is in tandem, as far as I'm concerned, with the bait and switch, as it is, and as it were, rather, getting us to think that we were something that we weren't, and in that whole enactment. And when you understand that we are the major and the majority,
yes,
and then when you understand that document as restated, we are the major, and that's why we don't have to reinvent the wheel.
There will always be more living people than there are corporate persons. There will always be more living people than there are corporate persons. And that's with people creating 12 and 13 corporate person entities. Google has Alphabet. Alphabet has Explorer. Explorer has AI development, Open AI, and they create entities for all of this, a different entity, but there will always be more people than there are persons. So when they start talking about, depopulation, all that's talking about is the only people worried about that is persons who don't have a people, who are not people.
That makes sense. Yep.
The people are not worried. We've been here forever, and we'll always be here.
That's like them stating to reduce the carbon footprint. Of who? Of what? No. The carbon footprint they were referring to was the corporate fiction.
Well, think about that word foot. They don't own nothing, so what is their foot even doing there? They do tell on themselves regularly. I will say that. Mm-hmm. So let's look a little bit further here, because somebody brought up something regarding let's see, the public store. Okay, stores. the supplies of different articles provided for the subsistence and accommodation of a ship's crew and passengers. Storehouse, this is what I wanted to get to. A house in which things are stored. A building for the storing of grain, food, stuffs, or goods of any kind. Whenever you see the word kind or type, you're talking species. A magazine, a repository, that means that all stores are a bank. Repository and depository are the same word, with the root word being position. A warehouse, a store. Malachi 3:10 in the Biblios Heliotext says, "Bring ye all the tithes into the storehouse, that there will be meat in mine house, and prove me now herewith as I pour out to you blessings that there will not have room enough to receive the abundance." The tithes is the delarium. That's the tithes. Here's some definitions just to kind of add to what we're doing in conclusion. We put here gold standard. I looked up the word standard in Black's Law Dictionary, and this is what came up. Stability. General recognition. General recognition has already happened with delarium. General recognition is simply who recognizes it and uses it. The post office has recognized our delarium as the foundational currency for our stamps and the trust therein. All because we took the time to put the process competently on the public record. Competently, really quickly, an 8-minute video. Hey, governments, this is how government mailings are done. It says here, stability, general recognition, and conformity. That means against the form. That means not the same one they use, create a new one, to established practice. And they say practice, we say customs and usage. Practice and customs and usage, one is kind of like the opposite of the other. Customs and usage according to the receipts and the receiver, which is all of us. When we accept the government, when the government accepts the groceries from the building, the structure, that means that we are receiving from them what they have offered. A standard is an ensign or flag used in peace, peace, and peace. We're changing the definition of that because those who wrote it were warmongers. We are peace. So in your, let's see, on the bond for stores. On your bonds, just put the word, well, whenever the banner is presented, it's a peace banner. It's not a war banner. It's not a war banner at all. And then here, a type, model, or combination of elements accepted as correct or perfect. So what they're talking about is a perfected process in the right species, because elements don't actually come in types, models, or combinations. not like this. Elements come in species or kinds. There's different elements. They come in species. An element is a species, it's a type. Okay? Now, we talked about meat, Justice Noble Phoenix. And we just so happen to have looked that word up because we're thinking food and stores and things like that. Now, of course, they're going to put the hypothecated one first, but let's just read the whole thing. Specifically animal flesh, that's what they say, though in one sense the word includes other foods. It says here, food in general, anything eaten for nourishment, either by man or beast, especially solid food, hence the edible part of anything. When I'm peeling mangoes, because right now mangoes are my favorite fruit. Mangoes and mandarin oranges are my favorite fruit. When I'm peeling the mango, I'm exposing the meat of that fruit. It's food. It's not animal flesh. Now, we're not against people who eat animal flesh. We're not against that. In fact, I eat animal flesh. I eat fish. I eat whatever I can cleanse from my body based on what the ancestors are saying to me at the time. When they say fast and cleanse, I fast and cleanse. When they say, okay, eat, I eat, because that's coming from within me. So, all things in moderation is what we state for everyone. Let that be the rule for how you govern your life. All things, enjoy everything in moderation. And some may not really care for that, and that's okay. Your moderation is different from other people's moderation. So meat is the edible part of anything. Even if you're a vegetarian, you eat meat, but you just eat the meat of plants, the edible part of the plant. Provision, because plants are living as well. So provision, those acts of parliament which were passed to curb the arbitrary power of the crown. Food by foreigners was introduced in order to curb the power of the perceived crown. So when you talk about food, and people are saying, oh, they just introduced that to kill everybody, to genocide. You don't have to eat it. Don't eat it. You are the God of your mouth. Don't eat it. If you feel that it curbs your power, don't eat it. I have found out through all of this demonstrating that at first there are certain things that you'll feel different when you eat them. The more powerful you are, the more you will know that absolutely nothing has power over you. And so you just, all things in moderation, nothing can stop you. I mean, at one point I was thinking that, I needed to fast all the time, every day, and do this and do this and do this and do that. But the growth kept coming. The information kept coming. Yes, all things in moderation. Yes, I always do things that way. Not always. Sometimes I overdo things. But I found that nothing could stop me from being powerful. Nothing could stop me from. Listen, if those ones previously doing business as corpses and corporations couldn't stop us, nothing can stop us. Nothing can stop us. Jail enactments didn't stop us. Policy enforcers surrounding us didn't stop us. We still served them with documentation. Here you go, here you go, here you go. This is all, and they took it and put it in their pocket and left. Because they were actors, pretending. So provision, that means you can see from before. Remember what we stated at the beginning of this, that as the scales continue coming off of
blah, blah, blah. Don't you ever shut the fuck up?
That's so provision, you can see beforehand. Provision, food, victuals. That's what they used to call them on the Clampets. Victuals. Victuals are instruments for the victorious. To the victor go the spoils. That's what this is. That's what we're introducing right now, is how the victors get the spoils. Articles of food, and we won't call them spoils, we could call it booty, we could call it loot, we could call it wealth. Let's call it wealth and riches. Let's call it our estate. Articles of food for human consumption. That's what they're saying here. Now look, the word provisions does not include a mulch cow, food. This is why in some places they worship cows, a mulch cow. And you can do the study on that. It's right there on the screen. Nor cotton. It says provisions. Cotton is not considered provisions because it's not food or victuals or anything for consumption. But cotton is a provision from our perspective. And when you talk about restoration of the republic means put it back into the hands of the publicans. Now, in the Biblios, the word publicans is mentioned in the Biblios, and they lumped the publicans in with the sinners and publicans. A farmer of the public revenue. Well, how do you farm public revenue? How do you do that? You do it by court action. That's why they say in the civil law. And that word civil is misused. It should say in the civic law. A farmer of the public revenue. One who held a lease of some property from the public treasury. That's all people are doing when they say, oh, we just bought a house. Me and Bob bought a house and now we have this house and we're having a housewarming. No, you're one who held a lease of some property from the public treasury. That's why they're all called tenants. So, as we continue moving forward, it says here in English law, a person authorized by license to keep a public house and retail therein for consumption on or off the premises where sold all intoxicating liquors, also termed licensed victualler. A victualler, one who serves food or drink prepared for consumption on the premises. So, bars and taverns and things of that nature were considered, those owners were considered farmers of the public revenue. In other words, they were getting some of the public money in their pub. That's why they call it a pub. It's short for publican or public revenue. And we're okay with commerce. We're just stating that place is public. Still, bars, taverns, and if you're taking public revenue, which you are, if you're taking money, you're taking public revenue, and we've stated what money really is, then that place is public.
Islam, Empress.
Islam.
Can you restate what you just stated about the tenants leasing land from the public? Can you just restate that over again? Because that from another perspective, just like it hit home.
Yeah. So when people go out here and they open a business out in the area, all they're doing is saying they're leasing property from the public treasury. They don't own that place. That's why when the government comes around and says close these doors because of COVID or whatever, they close them. They're leasing from the public treasury. The public treasury, those are places of public, where the public gathers for different things. That's why you can just walk in, you and your partners, and sit down and pull out your computers and start working and use that Starbucks and different places as a public meeting place. They get their revenue from you. To start the business, when they apply for a loan, they're getting it from the public treasury.
But wouldn't that also be for so-called owners of houses and like for so-called private houses too?
Yes. That's why they don't get the title, because the people own it.
Islam, that's why they get a deed, right?
Yes.
The deed is an act.
Yes.
Yes. And this is also why it is said all property is by ownership of the state.
Yes. That's
because the state was the state of mind that they were in. They were subjects.
Yes.
And the state of mind we were in, being not in our proper place. Okay? So we were right along with them. And so they had to act out because we wouldn't stand up and did not stand up and had not stand up. But now that's over.
Now. Yes.
That's right.
Islam.
Until now. Islam.
So remember that, Moors, when you're talking about properties and things of that nature, who holds the title? Because you wrote the title. Who holds the title?
Exactly, that part, Islam. We do. And the fact that it's public treasury, and we just saw an article just the other day talking about the T-bonds are all gone. Like, they are flat out finito, fine, well, however you say it in all multiple languages, they're done. And so,
yeah, they had to be, because we're issuing bonds, and light and dark can't stay together.
Precisely. And so furthering that is to the point that they don't have any standing at anything concerning land, because we own the land, period. So, they don't have nothing.
Right. Because, well, and here's the thing about the they and the we thing. I've already in my mind placed them in subject status in my Justice Nadunk Shy-Beast Bay, the meeting is unlocked. You can come in. You can come in. So the we and they thing, when we say they, and again, we've all done it. When we say they, that's almost giving them a status equal to ours when we say we and they, as if they have some claim. They don't have a claim. They were working in our service, and now we know who we are and we know who they are. So it's almost like it's not a we and they. We're all one in terms of we're the Moors and they're our subjects, and we're one. We're not at war any with any of that. And we never were really, but we're not at war about who owns what and who does what. See, when people were throwing people out of businesses saying, you can't be here with all of that, you know, if you're not disturbing the peace, then whoever it was, most likely, and I'll just put it this way, most likely, most of them, and in fact all of them, now that I think about it, everyone who's ever owned a business, either you got business directly from the public treasury by way of applying for a business loan, or you saved up money from a job that was a publicly owned business, because they all are, because they all start with the public treasury. So those places and the public treasury and all that's going on right now, it's only because the public treasury, those who are the people who have the authority over a public treasury, it was our obligation to stand and do what we're doing right now. The Larium is public treasury in operation, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. That's public treasury, money, currency, money, currency. Coinage because we coined it. Just look up the definition of coin. Don't argue with me, argue with the dictionary. It's coinage. The dictionary says if you coin something and you create it, then it's coin. It's called coin. It's defined as coin. So, with that being stated, really quickly, Grand Rising.
I won't be long. Our group and our territories, we've merged together for reasons that we clearly know. So much merged the territories, and we all agree. Now, that being said, the bond has been sent. It's been delivered, quote unquote, through the post launch. We're just getting the information on the launch that was cracked. Didn't quite understand of what it is.
Is it just me, or is he fading in and out?
I'm sorry, it's the area I'm in.
Oh.
It's not the best area. Is that a little better? I'm fading. Okay. Is that a little better?
Yeah, that's much better. I don't know what you did, but that's much better.
Yeah, it's not a good area. Yeah. Also, about 2 weeks ago, maybe somewhere in there, with the restart, it's valued at $100 million. Okay. Time that you had created and it shared with everyone. So that's what we've not launched it yet. We're trying to create an affidavit that goes with of the birth certificate. Meaning the instructions or the command.
Fucking fantasy land. Not gonna happen, Negro. Fucking fantasy.
Go ahead, Nobility.
Okay, he's done. So that's kind of where a lot of us are stuck at. Creating, I don't know if it should be a writ omnibus that goes with that allonge for the Internal Revenue. Oh, I was wondering if you could give like a quick top of your head, what should we should we use? Which writ would you suggest we use of insurance along with the restated 100 million birth certificate allonge package and get it off to the Internal Revenue Treasury?
So my suggestion would be to restate the Form 56, which is fiduciary document. See, we want to acknowledge and give a tip our hat to our system. Restate that. Don't use theirs, because they'll file you with debtors. You restate the Form 56. Also, if you choose to, you can restate the 1041T, which was just a way interesting document for us. We restated it for the United States as the creditors, and then we backed it up with a gold shipment, a shipment of gold coinage to our treasury for the 666 trillion. And so,
was that a T as in Paul or T as in Tom?
T as in Tom, 1041T. That's a trust document, a trust form. Restate that form. We restated it and you know, put the proper trust terminology on it. Those two are the starting place for that, for what you're doing. And then send a copy of your restated birth certificate, and also send the bond and 100 million in dollarium with it. And the dollarium should be embossed. 100 million in dollarium, because we've already backed the dollarium to 100 million for each more. We've already backed it with gold. And then if you want to, let me show you for proof of that backing, you can also add the certified return receipt number for the gold shipment, which is, let me see, I'll give you that number here quickly. Just a moment. Oh, there it is. Created. It's in one of the videos that we did. If you go back and look at the videos on our website, on our YouTube page here, it would be quicker for me to just go there and find it. That number is in there. The shipping information is in there, so that you can add that to your bonds. Just a moment. 1041T and Form 56. Restated, all of that restated, and the bond and the dollarium. So let me go here really quickly and pull up that information for you to put there.
Sasha, Earl, and some others, we were going over this. Others, so it has to make sense to us. Launch it yet?
As well it should. As well it should. So let's see. Return receipt acknowledgement. My full position, that's Treasury. Okay. So here it is. And I'll put the link to this. This video is 13 minutes. It's a 13-minute video, and it has the, let me see if I can maybe, I think I showed the number. Yep, I sure did.
I think I missed that one.
Okay. Here, I'll put the link in the chat. It's a 13-minute video. There it is, right there.
Beautiful.
Okay, that's the video, and I'm gonna screenshot that information and put it just for ease of use. The tracking number for that, I'll screenshot it and put it on the screen here really quickly.
Thank God lesbians cannot give you grandkids.
Here it is on the screen. These are the two gold placement, the bond and the gold itself that was sent.
Number 2259.
And this screenshot is in the video that I linked in the chat. Okay. So this is the information for that, and you can add this to your bonds. Here we give the dates and show everything that was sent.
I mean the actual verbiage.
You mean the actual verbiage for which part?
What your verbiage? We can utilize that verbiage.
Oh yes. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yes.
Here's the second topic. On the mother bond. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Saying just listening and learning as well. The EIN number is, for example, the city of Hudson. Looking for their EIN number specifically. Couldn't seem to settle for the city of Miami's EIN number.
You can put City of Miami and then just say all agents, principals, heirs, assigns, and any derivatives thereof until you can find it. But usually if you search for it and then wait a day, maybe a day or two, and search again, it will come up.
10-4. Foxtrot. Yes. Hotep. Islam. Thank you.
Islam. You're welcome. You are welcome indeed. And I believe that's all. I had a couple of other words that I'll share with you really quickly that I saw just randomly in my study. There was a term. The term is on the screen. It says when a noble woman, and this is a part of. They call it maxims of law. Maxims of law is a restatement of natural law, and then we can accept or not accept it according to us. When a noble woman marries a man not noble, she ceases to be noble unless her nobility was born with her. That's a maxim. A maxim for law. And at any time we can change maxims, as you know. But I just wanted to read that one because, again, they've always known who we are. And when I say they, I mean foreign corporations who came here. They've always known that we're the nobility and that it does matter. It does matter who you yoke with and all of that. It matters. Majestus. In Roman law, the magi, which means sovereign authority. Majestus is sovereign authority or supreme prerogative of the state or prince. And they say or because These other two, states and princes and supreme prerogatives, those only exist when there is no true sovereign authority speaking. And since we speak from now, nunc pro tunc, etc., then sovereign authority, majestus means sovereign authority. And then we are also the supreme prerogative, we're the state, and all of that. It says also a shorter form, and let me just say this about that. Anytime you talk about sovereign authority, the word state is going to come up because the word state is the root word for estate. Also a shorter form of the expression, and this is why we don't use abbreviations, because a shorter form changes the meaning. A shorter form of the expression, crimen majestatis, or crimen laos majestatis, an offense against sovereign or against the safety or organic life of the Roman people, i.e. high treason. So this is the origin of a term called high treason that began back in Roman days. And again, you know, Moors talk about, they don't, you know, some Moors say, we don't believe in Roman law. Who were the first original Romans? Moors. All law began with us. Majesty, royal dignity, a term used of kings and emperors as a title of honor. Not kings, but emperors, yes. And then earlier someone mentioned major and minor. I believe Empress Angel mentioned the motu proprio. A major is a minor emancipated by marriage. That's what they say. That means that a minor went and got married to someone and became a major. We rebut that definition of major. A person of full age. Now, they didn't say a person who's 21 and older. They didn't even say 12 years old and older. They didn't say any age. They said a person of full age. Full age for us is full authority, full jurisdiction, and fully competent. One who is no longer a minor. One who has attained, that word is supposed to be attained, the management of his own concerns and the enjoyment of his civic rights. That's all, you know, and we know that we have sovereign rights. One who manages and governs their own affairs, and that's what we're doing. Okay, so even when we talk about food and things of that nature, that's what we're doing. So that is all we're presenting today at this Congress. Thank you so much for your governing authority and for your wisdom in all that we've presented here today, because we're all presenting this as one. Islam, Empress.
And I'll make it fast. I have a quick question.
You don't have to make it fast, Empress. Take your time.
I know.
Islam, Empress. Empress. We can't hear you if you're speaking, Empress.
I muted myself. I was jabbering
away.
So, regarding the bond and the, so you have King County. So
yes.
Here I'm actually at Cornwall County, but so apparently in the 80s, the counties were buried or government was removed, and I believe it happened in 81 under Seaga. I haven't got the full details. So there's not that I can find anyway, any EIN, TRN, or any number for the county, because for the last 20, 30 years, let's see, that would be 40 years coming up, the county has not been or in the other age.
Mm-hmm.
So of course, I'm using the county on everything. I am the county. The land is the county. The county is. I see. I'm just trying to figure out what to use on the bond, because I know I'm here. The county's here. The land is here. All of those things. I cannot locate an EIN or a TRN or an IRS number or any of the labels for it here. So yes, that's what I'm really trying to figure out. What
Empress, Cornwall County has a tax number, but Cornwall in the UK took it.
Oh, and yes.
And transplanted it and attempt in their enactment.
In that, because here is hers.
And then claimed all of that. They claimed it.
Yeah.
So you can look theirs up, any tax number, and you'll find it. It'll be easy to find because they've claimed.
Ravana, we're coming for you next, baby girl. Oh, we are coming for you. Your delusional fucking mother doesn't.
Okay.
Yes.
Go ahead. Yes.
I will find it then. Absolutely.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. It's a flip of the mirror again. That's exactly it.
It is.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Yep.
Wonderful.
So, yes, you're welcome, Empress. Anytime you're having problems, anyone is having problems finding EINs and TINs and things of that nature, just look at wherever it is that you're looking for the EIN. Just think about the history of that place. Okay, think about the history of the place. And when you think about the history of the place, it's always going to direct you back to those that were pretending to be you. You're going to find it. You're going to find exactly what you're looking for when you do it that way, because the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree in terms of they were not smart enough, y'all, to come up with stuff. They couldn't. We didn't give them authority to come up with anything new. There was nothing new under the sun. So they just reformed, reconstructed.
Everything.
Yes. Nothing new.
Here, all of the place names here are there. My mother actually was born in Middlesex County here and domiciled in Middlesex County there.
And you know what?
The thing was that was first, and they came here and renamed everything. No. Flip the mirror, yes.
And you know what? If she were to put that on documentation and paperwork, the system wouldn't even know the difference.
They wouldn't know.
Because one was a hypothecation and subrogation of the other.
Do you know that you just made a statement that actually opened and brought some clarity to me with regards to my mother's overstanding, actually, of this? You've just...
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
You know, the ancestors, when we were looking in the funny mirror, and then when I first started to pull my view, my perception and perspective out of the funny mirror, it was a very, very weird experience and a weird feeling, because I realized then what I just told you there, that all out there, Japan, China, Thailand, all of those places got their original naming structure from here. All of them. And then that was affirmed for me when I began to do the study on the military GPS system. The military GPS system shows over here where we are as the East. And it even showed names of this place here that I'm at. This is Washington. But it showed these places as places called Tanjing and Xiaoping and different places like that. And I'm like, but it showed that I was sitting at, yes. I was like, and it was like where you could move the map around and it would show, it worked just like Google Earth. But it showed that this was the East. It was almost like saying this is China. I was like, what am I looking at? And then the ancestor said, East is West and West is East, and so on and so forth. North is South, South is North. And that this is actually the Middle East. All of that. And then as I did more study on the latitude and longitude, the lines that surround the earth, this is in the middle of the eastern lines that go around the earth. So placement is important when you're talking about, again, what we have on the screen right here. The lease is made in another state of land, and now everything is back where it's supposed to be. So now we can govern these resources by our state of mind and state rules and state law. Islam. With that being stated, Islam justice.
Sorry. Can I just ask
sure.
one more question? One clarification. The banner, the amity, that's going to be the same no matter, wherever.
Yes. And it goes with your state flags and your national flag. You know, we all have the same national flag and we all have the same banner for amity and commerce. No matter where you are at Earth, we all have this red flag with the green 5-pointed star. That's our flag for the whole Earth. Yes.
Flag.
They're banners. Yeah, you're right, Empress.
Yeah.
Islam.
Thank you.
Islam, nobility. Yes, thank you, Empress Shasha.
Yeah, I had a question about the embosser.
Yes.
What should be on the embosser? I'm on the phone, so I haven't been seeing what's on the screen, but I've been planning on getting an embosser. I just wanted to know exactly how should I design it or what should be on it.
So our embossers that we use to do all the things that we do have our government seal on them. I'll put that on the screen for you. Let me make it really big so you can see it. Just a moment. I don't know how clear this is going to be.
Okay, it's
let me see. This one is not as clear. Let me pull the one up on the bottom of my document so that you can see.
Islam. They are in the. Remember, you always put them underneath every video with the links. The seal.
Yes.
There
are. Yeah. Thank you, Empress. That's true. Let me just pull up any change issue. I was just going to pull up a document. I'll pull up one of these documents. Not that one. Not yet. Let's see. Okay, here I'll pull up a link. Let me see if this may do. Okay, I found one that has that on it. So let me just share this with you really quickly.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
You're welcome. Nobility, I'm going to put it on the screen right now. I found it really good. This is the artwork that we use for our embossers. And with this, you can use gold notarial seals that don't have anything on them. And when you emboss them, it's going to put a gold stamp onto your document. And then if you want to use it without the gold stamp, you just emboss the document, the paper, and it will emboss that paper with the government stamp and seal. And these are under the videos that we put on under our videos on Light Tajiri Bay channel on YouTube.
Islam, Empress.
Islam. So with that being stated, you're welcome, Nobility. If there's nothing further.
Well, I had a question. Empress.
Yes.
Yes. I've been the last couple of months doing a database for my court environment activity.
Mm-hmm.
So I've kind of put everything on hold so I can have more control of what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
But my next step to start putting my documents out,
mm-hmm.
I just want a little information or how everybody's presenting their delirium. If
what
it's,
they look like?
Yeah, if it's fronting back like
it
the
is
U.S. debt note.
It is.
Yeah, or is it?
Fronting back.
So that's a printing issue there, because that's kind of difficult to do from my standpoint. I don't know how everybody's doing it, but to kind of get all that lined up together
mm-hmm.
is kind of a printing issue.
You'll be able to work through it. You'll be able to work through it.
That's the way you present it. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You'll be able to work through it. I will say this, that when it is, and this is just from my own experience, others may have a different experience, but from our experience, when things don't work right, like printing issues and things of that nature, for us, that's the ancestors saying there's a little more study and something else that has to be done. And I can tell you, I can assure you that when whatever it is, I just wait. If it doesn't do right, I just wait for a moment, maybe a day or two. I'll wait, and the ancestors will tell me what it is that's missing and why I need to do that. So, for example, we have had Moors in the past, not very many, but a few, who were wanting to use delirium or willing to use delirium, but they hadn't terminated all corporate contracts, or something of that nature. And so just take a look at your documentation that you've done, and I'm not saying this is the case with yours specifically, but what I am saying is take a look at the documentation that you've done and ensure that in your spirit you feel comfortable with demonstrating delirium based on the documentation that you have and that you've done. That is our suggestion.
Islam, I do. It's just that actually lining all that up, because I've done a lot of printing, but I know that there's a particular thing that has to be done to make everything line up properly. So that's all I was speaking of.
Okay, let me show you. Thank you for that further clarification. I'll show you what I do with mine. Let's see. Let me just take a look here. Let me see if I can pull up what I use to make sure that my labels stay lined up properly. What I do, I'll just tell you because I'm not able to pull that up, I don't think. Let me see. Oh, here it is. I found it. So when I'm getting ready to print my labels and I start aligning the paper, can you see, let me just check and see if you all can see this on the screen yet. Probably not.
Yes, I can see it. But I was speaking of delirium. I do the postal currency pretty good. It's just getting the front and back of the delirium that I'm having a problem. I didn't know.
So when I do delirium, when I'm going to print delirium, I move for the front. I move the margins all the way over to the edge of the paper on the left. And then below that for page 2, I move the delirium, the rear of the delirium, I move it all the way over to the right. So that and then I set my printer so that it prints front and back. And when it prints front and back, because the front is far over to the left and the back is far over to the right, it will print them, it will align them perfectly. And I just play with that until it aligns perfectly.
Islam, Empress, you worth your weight. that explains it. Yeah, thank you. I never thought about that. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And I apologize that I wasn't clear on the question for the first 2 times you asked. 3rd time's the charm.
No problem, Empress. No problem.
Yeah, Islam.
Thank
you.
And then
Move it.
Islam.
You first move it to the left and then to the right.
For the front, I move it far to the left, and I put 3 of them in a row. For one 8.5 by 11 document or paper, I just put 3, and I make it so that they print with no spaces in between, no indentions between each delirium.
Mm-hmm.
Put 3 on the front, and then for page 2, I put the back side of the delirium far over to the right, so that when I print it, it's going to print front and back, and it'll just print them. It prints delirium front and back right there together. So I make it so that at the top of the paper, there's no margin up there. There's no margin on the left, and there's no margin on the right, and no margin on the bottom. And I do that for both pages, and then put the first 3 delirium, I copy and paste from the first delirium. I put that first delirium up there, and then I copy and paste it 2 more times, and then I put the back and copy and paste it 2 more times, and it automatically makes it front and back, and they're equal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And you're welcome, Empress. Maybe one day we'll do a short, 5-minute video on that, on printing it out, so that everyone can see that video. And yeah. And maybe it will assist those who are having any issues printing Delarium out.
Thank you.
And then for the subjects that are at your territory, they will be getting Delarium either from you with regard to the work you're doing with driver's license and things of that nature, or they will get it from the grocery stores and the post offices, because at some point, and again, we're already issuing Delarium out like that. When people send in their gold and silver, we issue them Delarium receipts. And then so Delarium is already gold and silver. So, yeah, so if you having any problems printing it, and this has helped me in the past, I take a deep breath and clear my energy and just say, ancestors, do your thing, and they do it. That has literally that's how I've gotten through most of the things that we do, most of the demonstrations all the demonstrations that we do, is I just say, okay, ancestors, I am doing this, and here we go. We are doing this, and here we go. And they make it so that printers act right, so that internet acts right. Everything does what it's supposed to do when I clear my energy and get it through.
Okay.
Yeah, Islam. You'd be surprised at how powerful we are. Anything that's out there manifests because of our authority and our power, and our energy. And that's why peace is going to be so important as we demonstrate all of the things that we're demonstrating in this next, from October to the end of September. This is a time of demonstrating Delarium and demonstrating our economic systems and things peacefully. Peace is the key. Peace is the key. Peace is the key. We're not at war.
Islam, one quick question.
Islam.
Is there, I knew you mentioned maybe about a week ago or so about the subject matter of travel.
Yes.
Okay. I'm just going to leave that there.
Yes. Yes, I have to do that demonstration myself. A bond on whatever conveyance methods you're going to be using, a bond on those. If you're going to be flying by plane and things of that nature, a bond. A lien, a levy, and a bond on whatever the entities are. And including, of course, Delarium in your bond. Put that more sovereign Delarium gold receipts is the currency. We put that in the main bond, or you can just allonge your bond to our United States 202-5923, which talks about Delarium in that bond. And then, notify. Send the Delarium in. And this is what I did when the ancestors were starting to give us the travel piece. What they had us to do is go online and go to any of the airline booking sites and go ahead and book all as far down as you can go without making the payment. And then restate that, because it's going to give you a confirmation number and even seating and everything. It gave me everything. Seating, confirmation, everything. And I had not put anything in there. But you can even put in a credit card number or some number from the last era, and then just restate everything. And Delarium is going to be the key to that, because they're not even accepting any of that other stuff. The system is not recognizing those things in a lot of instances. The system is not recognizing what's being done, what was done from the last era. And then we demonstrate from there. We demonstrate. That's how travel is going to manifest for us in terms of public travel, because remember, the airlines are public. They took from the public treasury to even start the airline. It's not a private thing anymore because that's against the takings clause. It's public. Public transportation is what it is. And we use public money to do that, money from the public treasury to do that. So those are the same way that we're doing with the grocery stores. And I would say also, nobility, and I already know this is coming in my spirit, that there are programs that the airlines have that we can restate the same way we're restating the food stamp program. And it's contained within those public programs that the airlines have that we're going to manifest our ability to do what we're doing, to fly and, let me see, public flight. Ooh. I just put in public flight and some things came up such as public flight data, public flight. See, the FAA is public. I'm just pulling it up just randomly, just since you asked. And it's showing here, all of that's public. Yeah. Flight plans are public. All of the governing bodies are public. They're publicly, governed by us. So we're going to keep looking at that also, because there are many flights that we have planned for next year. So thank you for that. We're going to continue looking. And if any of you find a public flight program, let me just see. Because all of the airlines started publicly. Here's what they did, and I'll just say this briefly, and then we'll conclude for today. What the airlines did was they did an IPO, an initial public offering, in order to raise the money to get started. They all did an initial public offering. That's a stock market terminology. So whenever a company goes from private to public, they do an initial public offering. And then the public buys up all the stock. And as you know, all of the airlines are publicly owned, and they started with public stock. And the public did not give them permission to go private. That was not part of the plan. So it's only when we stopped being the public in the enactment that they went private. And now everything is public again because we stated that it is. The Constitution states that all things, all buildings, all property, everything is public. And that's why you're not seeing as many people flying and things of that nature. I've seen photos out there of 1 or 2 people on a big 787 or something like that, 747. So we're going to continue to look at that piece right there. Because even when there's a crash or something of that nature, which we're not claiming crashes, but in the last era, whenever they would have a crash, it would be the public transportation, quote unquote, authorities that would investigate. There were no private things investigating. The only time private investigated is if there was a small little 2-engine private plane that went down. So those are all public. So we're just enacting and not enacting, we're activating the public transportation systems. We already did for the buses now. We already did for them. So, you know, most places are seeing where public transportation is free again, or prepaid in our case.
Mm-hmm.
So now but again, we must bond it publicly and lien and levy the property, and then state how we have to explain how the program works, how people can access the program using our money system. And once we do that, it'll be honored, just like our post office demonstrations, where we put on the public record the way to use the stamps, and it works. Then we put on the public record about the buses, and it works.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. And I apologize for being so wordy, but the ancestors are giving us the answers even as we speak.
So we have to bond, lien, and levy.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Islam Press.
Islam Nobility.
The food the U.S. mail stamps you was presented earlier, today. This is just for the U.S. For the moment, or do we have to create one for over here?
You can use the ones that we use, or you can create one based on the mail codes, because it's based on mail codes. When you look at that particular stamp, it has some codes there. I would suggest that you use this one, and here's why. And this was affirmed by many videos that we've seen. Those who state that they are united with the States United are not under the crown over there. See, they have different levels of citizenship, and those different levels of citizenship, the one who was claiming the proper citizenship was the one that was previously doing business as queen. She was claiming the sovereign status. And so when she knew that you all were the sovereigns, that the Moors over there were the sovereigns, she knew that. And then all of the modern ones over there were her subjects. Mm-hmm. And they even called themselves subjects of the queen. Mm-hmm. So we suggest that you use this one. It will be honored. Okay. Because they used United States codes to set the post office up over there. Okay. And they get their payments they were getting their payments from the Federal Reserve for over there, the central banking system that started here in the enactment. So all we're doing is making that fake acting stuff that they were doing, we're creating it real.
Salute.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you on that.
Islam. Any other questions, comments, wisdom, anything of that nature from this great and amazing and grand and honorable Congress? There was a question about a printer in the chat. It doesn't matter what kind of printer you use. You can, when you line it up, it will work properly for you. Islam. With that being stated, I have nothing further for this amazing Congress, so we will adjourn until Thursday. Peace and grand rising to the sovereign, original, indigenous, natural, divine heirs and their subjects. Islam.
Peace and grand rising.
Islam.
Peace and grand rising.
Backside the mortar.
Merci beaucoup. All that.
Islam.
We love you.
Love you too, Islam.